City on the Sofa, a brand new show brought to you by LCFC TV. Now, I know all you Leicester fans out there watching along would much rather be at Vicarage Road today for the Premier League game with Watford. But unfortunately, you can't be. But we thank you for staying at home and watching the game from your living room, and as ever, supporting Leicester City as much as you normally do. Over the course of this afternoon, we'll build up to kick-off at 12:30. We'll then talk throughout the game, so you can have it on in the background with us talking about it, and we'll analyse it at full time as well. To guide you through the next 3 hours or so is me, Dan Bates, Matt Elliott, Steve Walsh and Iwan Roberts. Firstly, Iwan, thank you everyone for joining us. How are you doing from your home in Norwich?
Yeah, good. It's going to be strange. It's different. We've already seen some games over the last 3 or 4 days. No fans in the stadium. Players' fitness levels aren't what they should be, which is expected with the limited of time they've had to prepare. But sadly, with everything that's gone on, it is the only way that we're gonna see any type of football for the next few weeks and maybe for the next few months.
Well, that's former City striker Iwan Roberts joining us from his home in Norwich, and in our socially distant studio here at LCFC TV, we've got Matt Elliott and Steve Walsh. Walshy, how was your mini break from football?
It's great to be back, I must say, Batesy. However the circumstances are, it's just great to be back amongst it. And, I'm not even bothered about the atmosphere or anything at the minute. It's just getting back. I'm glad that we're seeing the season through because there's so much left of it for Leicester City, especially. There's a lot of pressure on this team at the minute, and there's a lot of things to be achieved yet. So it's exciting to be back. Looking forward to seeing, the team. It's going to be difficult to gauge what level we're at the moment. They've only had 3 or 4 weeks to get themselves into shape. So, hopefully they can hit the ground running, because when you look at it, these next 2 games could be the 2 vital games. On Tuesday night, if you've won these 2 games, it's a big ask to start off away at Watford, but we've got Brighton on Tuesday. So if we can win them 2 games, it's almost 1 foot in that Champions League spot for me. I really feel that way with the way the results went yesterday. A couple of draws, I think they were good results, really. Sheffield United, Man United in the end. So it's an opportunity to really stamp our authority and get that 1 foot in there, which I think we're capable of.
Well, Walsh, you mentioned the team there. We'll bring you team news in just a moment's time. Before we do, though, last but not least, we've got to introduce Matt Elliott, of course, and it's good to be back, isn't it, Matt?
Certainly is, Dan. Yeah, nice to see the boys as well here at the King Power Stadium in the studio. But first and foremost, it's good that the games are getting back on track, aren't they? And the Premier League football, there's been so much hype and speculation about how it's going to start, when it's going to start. And it's actually become a reality again, slightly alternative in the way it's set up, but hopefully no less enjoyable. And I think Fox's fans will be delighted to see their team back in action today, which is a very competitive fixture. 2 sides at opposite ends of the table, both with a hell of a lot to play for, and the extra spice of Nigel Pearson being on show as well. So all the ingredients are there for an entertaining game.
Thank you very much, Matt. That's our team here for City on the Sofa. Don't worry, if you normally listen to the game on LCFC radio, you still can do. We've got a commentary team at Vicarage Road. That's James Fielden and, of course, Jerry Taggart down there for that one. So you will be able to tune in to LCFC radio for full match commentary if you'd prefer to listen to the game, of course, this afternoon. And that's everyone here, but obviously the most important people are you at home. So please do get involved on social media, reply to all our tweets, send us in your pictures, your videos of how you're supporting the Foxes at home today. Well, it's been a long 3 months, hasn't it, without football, but Leicester City are finally back in Premier League action.
It's raining,
Well, if a Bruce Springsteen-led montage hasn't got you back in the mood for Premier League football, then nothing will. Matt, after just seeing that and after the 3 months, it has been a long 3 months, hasn't it, without football? Let's face it, it's longer than what a summer break normally would be. So how excited are you, and how excited do you think all Leicester fans out there watching are for this?
Yeah, it's great to get things back on, isn't it? People have been talking about it, as mentioned earlier, and speculating as to how and when. If it was going to happen at all for this season. And I think at one stage it looked perilous, I have to say. I thought, how are they going to find a solution? But up to this point they have, they being the Premier League. And so far, so good as well. And I'm sure sporting enthusiasts right across the country would be delighted that things are getting back in motion. Even people who don't focus on football stroke sport anyway, will take it as a sign of progression out of the slump that's happened lately. And yeah, it's encouraging and enjoyable for everyone, isn't it? And the players will be chomping at the bit as well, won't they? And like we said, it's a slightly alternative setup or format these days, certainly for the foreseeable future. But from the games I've watched, they've been decent standard in terms of technically. The atmosphere is assisted, if required, with the sound enhancement. I think that works to a level. But it's great to see football back on TVs. And some people might say after a few days, think it's a bit of an overdose of it because it's game after game after game. But it's been a long time coming, hasn't it? And it's great to see a bit of action at last.
Well, as promised, we've got you some team news hot off the press, of course, with kick-off at 12:30 this afternoon, and we can run you through those teams now. Kasper Schmeichel in goal, James Justin at right back, Johnny Evans and Kaglar Soyuncu with Ben Chilwell left back. That midfield three of Wilfred Ndidi, James Maddison and Yuri Tielemans, with Mark Albrighton and Harvey Barnes supporting Jamie Vardy. Ewan, just looking at that, and obviously we know there's 9 substitutes, 5 of those can be used during the game. What strikes you about that starting 11?
I look at that back four, who have been solid, for back five with Kasper Schmeichel in goal. Chilwell's come back in. He didn't play against Villa in the last game, but it's a great opportunity for James Justin. He played left back against Villa. There's no Ricardo, who will be badly missed. He's up there with the best right backs in this Premier League. Interesting to see once again that Brendan's gone with just the one defensive midfielder in Ndidi, but you just look at the attacking options that they've got. Harvey Barnes, what a season he's had. 5 games in his last 7 5 goals in his last 7 Premier League games. And Jamie Vardy, he'll have been absolutely overjoyed with getting those 2 goals coming off the bench against Aston Villa. It's just a shame that he's had to wait now so long to carry on his goal scoring opportunities. But it's a strong looking Leicester City side, and I'm sure James Justin, he'll come in and he'll fill that right back position superbly.
Yeah, Walsh, what do you make of James Justin at right back? Obviously, as Ewan said there, he played left back against Aston Villa. I know for Luton Town, he played left back and right back and wing back as well. He's clearly very accomplished, isn't he? He can play either side, and it is a big chance for him with Ricardo Pereira being injured. It
is a big chance, and if anyone could step in there, it is James Justin. Now, from what I've seen of him, he's a terrific talent. He's got great pace. He's got a good understanding of the game, and you just feel, looking at that team, it's probably the strongest team that, if I looked at it picking myself, you'd have looked at picking that squad of players anyway, without a doubt, your first 11. And he's certainly gone for it. It's an attacking game, it looks like it. So, and James Justin's going to step in nicely, because it's a shame Ricardo's had a bad injury, because, like Ewan said, he is probably the best right back in the league, in the Premier League for me this year. So it's a shame that that he got injured. But it shows you the strength in depth that Leicester City have, and a player as good as Justin, and it's an opportunity, like you say, for him to step in. You just go back looking at this at what we've got left of this season, and there's so much to play for. You look at it, Vardy's 16 goals, Kasper's 10 clean sheets. You've got the FA Cup, Champions League. It's just there's so much on this season, and you know, it's a good-looking lineup. I'm happy with what Brendan's picked, and he's certainly going for it today.
Matty, another thing to pick up, obviously, is Mark Albrighton. He started against Aston Villa, didn't he? He got those assists. He had a fantastic evening, and Barnes got his 2 goals. Jamie Vardy got his 2 goals as well. So that front three could be quite important today, as they always are.
Well, every component of the team, you know, is important in its own way, isn't it? But yeah, I think Mark Albrighton it could be justified in feeling slightly hard done by in terms of the amount of games that he hasn't started this campaign. You know, he's proven himself season after season that he's an established Premier League quality player, and a very good one at that. I don't know why he finds himself on the fringes on occasion. I think his all-round game and his contribution is as consistent as any player probably at the club. I think sometimes perhaps managers look for someone who's a little bit more dynamic going forward. But I think Mark, given the chance and with his confidence as it has been of late, he can provide that. He provides as good a delivery as anyone in the club. You know, his assist record is right up there with the best. He works hard. He's reliable, but he's not just about the basics, though. You know, he does have that ability. I think he mentioned it himself, doesn't he, about his goal ratio could be improved, and I think that's a fair comment. The team has pretty much picked itself by and large through the season, other than the 2 wide players either side of Jamie Vardy, really. You know, is it going to be Gray or Barnes, or is it going to be Perez or Albrighton? And he's had to be patient, Mark Albrighton, hasn't he? Because Perez has been given opportunity after opportunity, and it hasn't always produced, has it in flashes. But Albrighton has, you know, I think he's established himself in the manager's mind and his way of thinking. He knows what he's going to get from him. Probably encourages him to go and be a little bit more extravagant going forward, or play with a bit more freedom, as well as still doing his job. And you know, he's come up trumps, hasn't he? More often than not, he's involved in goals. You know, let's say doesn't score enough by his own admission, but his assist ratio is superb, isn't it? And his all-round contribution to the team, fully deserving of a starting place today.
You know what, Matt? When you say that link-up's key with Vardy as well. It was instrumental in 2016 when we won that title. How many times did he just whip that ball in early? Yeah. And Vardy knew where to be, where to go, and they can play off each other. It's great. You know, I just feel when Albrighton's in the team that, you know, we are going to get more chances and opportunities, and you know, he gives 110%. His work rate's phenomenal. He's a good defender when he has to. He can tuck in and do a job when he needs to. All round, I think it's a good starting point today with him playing. Yeah,
and for some reason, Walsh, I don't know if you agree, he sort of goes under the radar, doesn't he? You know, because he's a good lad. He's an honest pro. You know, he doesn't cause a fuss. He doesn't want to be in the spotlight. He just gets on with his work, applies himself, as you mentioned there. And sometimes I feel like he's almost, it sounds a little bit harsh, but an easy option to be omitted at times. I'm not saying Brendan Rodgers takes the easy option, but other managers maybe have. If, you know, it's a toss of the coin, shall I go for him? Or, well, yeah, Mark will be a safe bet if things don't go right. You know, it's
great professional though, Matt.
Yeah, he knuckles down, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, and he gets on with things. He's a squad player. He knows that now, and when he's needed, he produces, and he does it from, you know, it's not nice all the time when you sat on that bench half of the season like he has, but he's always been ready. He's come on and he's done well, and you just know what you're getting with him. I like him, and I just think he adds a massive dimension to the team.
Ewan, how important do you think it is to have someone in the squad like Mark Albrighton, who clearly gives his all absolutely every single time he steps out on that pitch?
I think you need characters, you need players like him. And I think Matty touched on it. You know, he's not going to kick off when he's left out. He's a team player. I can imagine he's an absolute dream for Brendan to work with. You know what he's going to give you going forward. But just as important for me, you know what you're going to get defensively from Mark Albrighton. You know, he is going to give you that defensive effort. He is going to get back, especially today, and help young James Justin get through this game. And And they're unsung heroes, players like Mark Albrighton. You know, they do a lot of the horrible work, the hard graft that some of the players don't really enjoy doing. And they're quite happy to do that. And they just go under the radar. You know, I don't think they get as much credit as some of the other players. But the likes of Mark Albrighton, they're invaluable to the success that Leicester have had in recent years.
Another player that you could argue, Walshy, goes a little bit under the radar. I suppose this season, maybe not, because people are really starting, and fans at home are really starting to realise just how important he is to this Leicester City team. And that's Wilfred Ndidi, isn't it? Because he's so important in that defensive midfield role.
Yeah, it certainly showed it when he was injured. You know, we didn't have that balance. It seemed to upset the team a little bit with Ndidi. He's been phenomenal this season. And last season he's been outstanding. The ground he covers, the tackles he puts in, the passes that he makes, and you've just got that security as a defender. And Matt will agree with me, I'm sure, is that when you've got somebody in front of you can just stop things, and you know, it makes it a lot easier. You know, Johnny Evans has been class this season with Sonchu, and they've had it. You know, anybody else but Ndidi, they would want in front of them because he's that good. And you know, for me, he's been a key component of the success right at the start when we hit the ground running right from the start, which was great. And that's why I think it's important now that you're looking at that team. We've got the right balance, we've got the right ammunition to get forward and create chances. And we've also got that solidity with Ndidi in there. You just know that he's going to do a great job of protecting that back four and doing his defensive duties, which we know he's so good at.
Well, from one important player to a man whose importance can't be understated, that is Kasper Schmeichel. He's been speaking about the return of Premier League football.
Actual training in itself is relatively back to normal. It's obviously all the stuff surrounding it, you know, with your social distancing away from the pitch. Any kind of unnecessary contact is very important. So in terms of the actual football, we're kind of back to normal now, and obviously going into games, we've been training really hard and getting ready for match situations. So yeah, everything's been coordinated so well. The club have been amazing. Everything's been organised brilliantly by our medical team, by all our directors, our manager, our coaching staff. Everything's been done to put our minds at ease, and everything has been great. There's been no kind of worries or contentious issues or anything like that. So yeah, we've been able to kind of just focus on football. What you're going to see is you have this situation sometimes at the start of seasons where teams start off flying. You know, they have everybody fit and everyone's ready to go, and they kind of tail off maybe around Christmas. But this is a 9-game season now, so it's there for anyone. And we came off a really good win against Aston Villa, but that kind of counts for nothing now. But you look back at our early season form, you know, it was very good when we had time to prepare, and we've had good time here. Everyone's come back in great shape. Everyone's really looked good in training, and we've been able to get straight into football. So we're hoping to build some momentum. Training's been a really high standard, really high intensity. So yeah, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be able to hit the ground running. We've got ourselves in a really good situation, and for us now it's about finishing. And we have a great opportunity with 9 league games plus an FA Cup game against Chelsea. So we're in a great position, and we're in a really good place, and we can really have a really good season. So it's up to us now to finish it off properly.
Kasper Schmeichel there speaking. Just as you are doing, Iwan, this is the new norm for football interviews, it seems, particularly for the short while. But it was interesting to hear what he said about the hunger that's in this Leicester squad now going into these final games of the season.
Oh, absolutely. First top-class goalkeeper, third best defensive record in the Premier League. I think Walsh touched on it at the beginning. 10 clean sheets. There's only 3 keepers that have kept more clean sheets than Kasper this season. Instrumental to the success. I think he marshals his back four superbly. You know, and he's pivotal. He's absolutely pivotal to the success that Leicester have had. And very similar to Wilfred Ndidi, you don't realise what you've got in a player until he's missing. And Kasper is up there with the very best.
He absolutely is, Matty, isn't he? And his importance obviously shines through, doesn't it, at all times for Leicester City in the role that he obviously plays, he and Wes Morgan, I guess, being the two leaders of the dressing room?
You would say so, yeah. I mean, I think Jamie Vardy would have a point in case there, you know, to put forward his strength of character as well. But there are numerous players like that in Leicester's squad. I mean, we mentioned Albrighton already. You know, he has the respect of his peers there within the squad for the experience he's got and how he carries himself and how he performs, etc. But other people spring to mind. You know, Christian Fuchs is held in high regard by everyone at the club, not just, you know, fellow teammates, etc. Then you've got Johnny Evans. You know, all these people have got bags of experience. But they talk about Leicester being a young side. You know, there's a good balance. There is a good mix, and it makes for a good end result, which is what you're seeing out on the pitch more often than not. There are little bumps along the way, of course, but even the younger players as well. You know, in an era when a lot of footballers are accused of being characterless, I think there's a bit of personality about this Leicester team. James Maddison being one in particular. You know, he's a relatively young, highly talented, but not afraid to express himself, is he? Both, you know, in football terms and personality-wise, and that's good. You know, they've got that confidence within themselves that they've developed. That spirit amongst them, I think you can see that is genuine. And, you know, it's a great blend, isn't it? They've got ability, they've got youth and dynamism, they've got experience and know-how, and they've got spirit. And they've got Brendan Rodgers at the helm as well, who, you know, has been there, seen it, done it. The players have got confidence in him. So, you know, it's difficult to pick out individuals. I wouldn't disagree with you when he says that Kasper is pivotal, but so are about 8 or 9 other players. You know, Leicester can cope with that. They're all big factors in what comes together into, you know, a very impressive outfit. You have to say.
You know what, Matt? That's why you've got to give Brendan a pat on the back, because you look at these younger players who need them older players to keep the heads really focused and keep the feet on the ground, because you remember being that age and 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, you know, you needed them I needed guidance. I needed it, you know, when things were tough. You needed, you know, you've got your Evans, Schmeichel, you've named 5 players there who have got the experience to know how to look after these youngsters when they're up against it and when they're down, and don't let them get too high, you know, above themselves. So that's why there's a lovely balance in this squad for me, and that's why this season is going so well, because at the minute we've got class players and a great atmosphere amongst that squad.
Well, we're just getting some early pictures through from Vicarage Road of the Leicester City players doing their warm-ups. Obviously, the big thing, Iwan, is the fact there's no fans. So we do thank you, those of you that are at home supporting the Foxes, as you always do. Please do be sending in your tweets and your pictures and your videos of how you're supporting the Foxes this afternoon, Iwan. But I guess that is the big thing, isn't it, today, is football with no fans, and what that's going to be like as a player, because for you, Walshy and Matty, a big thing, I guess, of your time at Leicester was feeding off that Filbert Street crowd, wasn't it? So how different do you think it will be for those players?
It's very strange. It's something that the players have never had before in their careers. You know, we've all played in pre-season friendlies where there's a handful of supporters watching, but as I say, they're friendlies, they're not competitive games. It's not ideal. I sympathise. I feel for fans. You know, without fans, you could say there is no football. But within a really strange time with this awful pandemic that's, you know, spread all across the world, and for the time being, it is the only way that any type of sport can be played. It's not great. It's not ideal. And I think the big thing is the players know what's at stake. You know, that's the thing. Whether a stadium's full or whether it's empty, you know, these Leicester players, they know what's at stake. They know they've got a great chance of finishing in that top 4, a Champions League place. You know, experiencing that Champions League for the second time in the club's history. It's been a tremendous season. You know, semi-final of the League Cup, so unlucky. They've got a quarter-final of the FA Cup to look forward to. Go and finish these last 9 games off. Go and get enough points to finish in that top 4 and cap off an absolutely magnificent season.
I'll tell you what, Ewan, I couldn't envisage playing in a situation like this because I needed a crowd. I don't know what it is. I couldn't inspire myself a lot to really get up for something like this. I don't know what it was with my game, but I was influenced by the crowd, and I needed, that kind of atmosphere, volatile, and just something to get me aroused in a lot of ways. But it's really... I
think what it does do, Chief, it takes that home advantage away to a degree.
Yeah, it does. Hey, Liverpool won't get any dodgy penalties, will they? They're used to that in front of the Kop.
Go to play at Vicarage Road. Watford haven't got their home fans there. 80% of a home crowd, and that takes that home advantage away slightly.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about the fans or the lack of fans at the ground in just a little moment's time. But we are half an hour now away from kick-off. It's incredibly exciting. Leicester City's return to Premier League action. Still to come on this first episode of City on the Sofa. We'll take a look at that Watford team and hear, of course, from both managers, Nigel Pearson and Brendan Rodgers.
We are an instinct that ignites action. We are a journey, taking one step more. And we are the heart that beats as one. We are proud to be more. De Montfort University, Leicester.
Welcome back to City on the Sofa here on LCFC TV, the first Leicester City Premier League game back since the break. We'll have a look at both teams. Well, we've seen Leicester's team, so we can have a look at the Watford team as well now to face Leicester at Vicarage Road this afternoon. Ben Foster, of course, in goals for the Hornets. Fenomena, Cabaselli, Dawson and Messina make up the back four. Capoue, Decore and Hughes as the midfield three, and then it's Ismail Assar, Troy Deeney and Pereira as the front three, Matt. And it's a similar lineup, isn't it, or similar formation, I guess, to Leicester City's. And do you think that maybe will play into the Foxes' hands?
I think Leicester will be quite happy to match themselves up, yeah, if that proves to be the case. And I don't think it's necessarily a sign of lack of intent from Watford. You know, they're going to play their normal game, I would say. It's pretty much to be as expected with the lineup. Mind you, look at that. You look at that bench that Watford have got there, and it shows you the quality of teams in the Premier League. You know, sometimes I do question the standard. Is it quite as good as it's hyped up to be? But when you look at that squad, That's a team that have struggled all season, currently 17th, on level points with 18th. And there's some good players in there. There's some good players on the bench as well, aren't they? Big, strong, athletic, powerful. We know that, but we talk about Leicester's balance. There's a good mix in that team as well. You know, you've got the ability of Pereira, the pace of Sarr. There's quality, Capu, Hughes, Decore. A match for any midfield in there. So Leicester need to be at their best. They need to be at their best to get the result, as has been proven to be the case on previous visits to Vicarage Road.
Well, yesterday we asked you Foxes fans at home how you were feeling ahead of this game with Watford today and the return of the Premier League as well. I know it's been a very nervous and excited wait, and the results are there as follows. You are, of course, all very excited for the game. We asked you if you were confident, nervous, or all of the above. And Walsh, it was excited is the emotion that shone through for those Foxes fans.
Absolutely. I think everyone, I've had that many messages of people all bang up for it. So it's certainly great to be back for us. It's good to see the lads. Just looking at the warm up there, look at the Soyeon Chu haircut. He's got, well, not haircut, he's got a headband in, I think. So he looks quite well. But no, it is going to be a weird situation, which, like I've already said, that Leicester have got so much to play for, and Watford, Nigel Pearson will be desperate to get a result against us. I do feel, looking at that Watford lineup, that Delafeu, who is out for the season, similar to Pereira, is a massive blow to their campaign to stay up. Yet you've still got very good players, as we know, a lot of pace, and the Capoue was in banging form at the time of they were getting results. They wanted the season to keep going, did Watford, because they were really in good form. So it's a test for Leicester, this one, a game they can win, and they've just got to play it right and make sure that they play to the strengths. And I'm sure if we defend well enough that we'll hopefully keep Troy Deeney under wraps. So all to play for, but one key player, Delafeu, for me, has really upset the apple cart for them. You obviously, everyone knows about Troy Deeney. Walsh has just said that Troy Deeney probably is the danger man, but next to him they've got Ismaila Sarr, who's this unknown quantity, isn't he? But he seems like he could be a real danger man.
Yeah, he is. He's quick. He's strong. He's powerful. He can nick you a goal. I think he'll come in from that right hand side. He'll get closer to Troy Deeney. Deeney's the leader, and there's no surprise. There's no shock that you look at the start to the season that they had, that didn't win a game in their first 8 games. Troy Deeney wasn't available. He was out injured. Obviously, then the change with Nigel Pearson comes in, Deeney gets himself fit, and in Nigel Pearson's first 7 games, they win 14 points, which gives them a great opportunity of getting out the hole that they were in. I like Decore. I think he's a tremendous player in midfield. He's big, he's rangy, gets up and down. If they have got the weakness, and they have, I look at those 2 central defenders, Craig Dawson and Kabasele. Will they be able to match the pace and the runs that Jamie Vardy will make today? I don't think they will. The left back, Messina, I think he's a left winger. He's more of an attacking player. I think Mark Albright can get at him. And looking at that side, they have got some quality, but nowhere near the quality that Leicester have got.
Well, we asked you earlier to send in your pictures and your videos of your setups at home for this Premier League game today, and you've sent them in, so thank you very much for those. This is Remy at home cheering the Foxes on. He's 7 years old, so thank you very much to Remy for sending that picture in there for us. Obviously, it's an exciting time for everybody. This is from Webbo07. He seems to be in his garden. It's a nice day for it, isn't it? So he's got his flags draped and he's ready for Premier League action again this afternoon. And this is 2-month-old who's watching their first game for Leicester City, and what a way to do it. Hopefully for you, we can cap it off with a victory against Watford today. But thank you very much for sending those in. Do keep doing so. Let us know how you're cheering the Foxes on today. It's interesting, Matt, isn't it? I know a lot of those fans that have sent those pictures in will probably be either in a pub outside Vicarage Road right now or already in soaking up the atmosphere. So how different do you think it is for that day-to-day fan that goes home and away?
Oh, what a question that is. I mean, it's going to take some getting used to, isn't it? That's for sure. And the traditional way of watching football is out the window for the foreseeable future, as we've said. And adjusting to that, and I don't know, people are being a little bit creative in society generally at the moment, aren't they? And I'm sure that will apply to football supporters as well, and Leicester City fans as much as any other. But as usual, there'll be a huge following for Leicester City, not just in and around the city and the county itself, but far and wide. And it always intrigues me how these Leicester City supporters just pop up literally all over the world, don't they? And they get in touch on our programme and various other formats. And the name of Leicester City is spread far and wide these days, and it really is a global enterprise. But the die-hard Leicester City fans will like to hear, like you say, asking him for videos and the scenarios where how they've had to adapt and be a bit creative, and the lengths they've had to go and watch this game today, because it's not always easily accessible for everybody, and but it's all part of it, isn't it? It's all part of the involvement of being a supporter, and the little stories you can tell each other down the line, and when you're reflecting, and this will be spoken about, this game, by Leicester City fans for years to come. It was the first game back after the pandemic, and. It's like writing their own little bit of history. Hopefully the boys can create another bit of history, getting themselves back in the Champions League.
Well, let's look again at Watford then, today's hosts. And Ryan Gray from the Watford Observer says that they've been in a relatively good mood in this build-up to the first game back.
They seem to certainly have a togetherness and a bit of focus from who I've been talking to this week and last, and sort of since the restart date was announced. And I don't think it came at a bad time for them. It's given them a couple of months to kind of look back on their season and look at what perhaps went wrong at the start and what they have improved under Nigel Pearson and how they can continue through the remaining games.
Just finally, who are the danger men from a Watford point of view that the Leicester fans need to be fearful of?
I think Ismail Assar is probably the one they need to worry about the most. He's still sort of an unknown quantity in the Premier League, but obviously his 2 goals in that Liverpool game, and he also set up the third for Troy Deeney, has sort of brought a lot of attention to him. But without Gerard Deulofeu, who's going to be injured for the rest of the season, he's going to be someone who I think they're going to rely a lot on for creating chances. Obviously, Troy Deeney can always be a handful. It remains to be seen how much of a part he's going to play on Saturday, simply because of him not coming back to training and having that extra week. Craig Shakespeare said that he is sort of a little bit behind on his sharpness, so it's still something that we need to wait and see whether that happens. But I think certainly Sarr and Abdoulaye Doucouré as well, since Pearson's come in, he's been pushed further forward in the midfield and playing a lot more of an attacking role, and it's certainly brought quite a few dividends since he's done that.
Thanks to Ryan Gray there from the Watford Observer. Walsh, he picked out Ismail Assar there as one of the main danger men for Watford today. But if you think about it, Ben Chilwell, James Justin, they've got a heck of a lot of pace themselves, haven't they, at full-back? Maybe not the Premier League experience in James Justin's point of view, but you think whichever side Ismail Assar does play on, they have the physical capabilities to match him.
Yeah, like we say, he's a bit of an unknown identity, really, is Ismail. So we've got to be wary of him, but also look at our strengths and be positive. That's the main thing. It's interesting what he said, about Nigel Pearson. Now we know Nigel Pearson and Shakespeare inside out. They'll have a great spirit themselves now. You can tell that he settled them into you can just tell they've got that banter. I just watched him smiling with Troy Deeney, and everyone seems happy at Watford at the moment, and that's what you need, and that's what they did here. So they'll be well organised, they'll be well drilled, they'll work hard as a unit and as a team, So, you know, we're well capable of matching it because we've got that extra bit of class that should see us through this game.
Manny, what we haven't talked yet about Nigel Pearson, have we? And that factor and what that could mean this afternoon.
Yeah, listen, as always, there's loads of ifs and buts and maybes. And certain things could have an influence, and the midfield is going to be key to this game. And you hear all these phrases being mentioned and topics discussed before games, but I think Nigel Pearson, not necessarily in this one-off game, despite the spice that it adds, the fact that it's against Leicester, etc., and all that he's done for this club in his time, but in terms of what he brings to a group, as Walsh has mentioned there, he adds. Teams do reflect their managers, and he's a very determined character. But he's also a very solid character and reliable as well. And I think the players appreciate that. You hear them speaking about him, and that gives things to them as a squad as well. It gives them a lift, gives them a confidence about themselves. They've got a trust and reliance in their manager because he offers that to them, and he treats them like experienced adults. Basically, which is not always the case. Some managers don't think that is the best way. You give them a bit of, give them a scope, and sometimes players let you down. But I think these days, players in the whole are more responsible as well. And Nigel's adapted with the times. He's an old school type of manager who's been able to evolve and develop himself, hasn't he? And I think he covers a lot of angles as a manager, and he's had a huge influence on Watford. But it's no surprise, anyone. I'm amongst many thousands and thousands of people. It was almost a travesty that he wasn't involved in the top two divisions, at least in England. When he had his time in Belgium, he had his own reasons for that, and there were outside influences maybe. But he's a top-class manager, isn't he? And despite his bad press that he gets regarding the press, that's not really his personality. He's got a good sense of humour. He's got a great understanding of being a football manager, but an understanding of human beings as well. And he knows how to press people's buttons and get results out of them and get performances. And he's showing that yet again at Watford.
Yeah, well, let's hear from his. Well, we're going to have to hear from his opposite number. Sorry, Walshy. Brendan Rodgers speaking ahead of the game. He says it'll be a tough test at Vicarage Road, but he has nothing but admiration for Nigel Pearson.
They are a team that is a very good side. They finished above us last season. They got to an FA Cup final. So he's been able to go in along with Craig, and they've really got them organised and playing to their maximum. So had some excellent results, and other results that I feel that they maybe could have been better in. But yeah, we go there knowing it's going to be a really tough game, like all the games will be. And but for us, look to impose our way. But yeah, he's done very well there, Nigel, and obviously done a fantastic job here.
Well, that was Brendan Rodgers there speaking ahead of the game, and Ewan, just hearing from Brendan Rodgers himself there, he obviously has nothing but admiration, as I said, for Nigel Pearson, and he knows how difficult a game this will be for Leicester City today. Everyone talks about that Liverpool game that Watford had at home just before the break where they beat the team that everyone said wouldn't lose a game all season. So clearly he's done something right at Watford since he's gone in there.
Well, if you look at Watford at the start of the season, Dan, I think in their opening 3 or 4 games, they got beat by Brighton at home, conceded 3. West Ham went to Vicarage Road, scored 3. So defensively, they were all over the shop. They weren't scoring enough. I think they're the 3rd lowest scorers in the Premier League as we speak. So he had to go in there and he had to get them organised defensively to start off with, because they were staring. They were adrift. They were dead and buried before Nigel went there. So he organised them defensively. He built from the back, as you always should do. I think he's fair. He's an honest manager, which players love. And if you look at their form before the lockdown, I think they'd only won 1 in their last 7 before we went into lockdown. That was that great performance against Liverpool. 17 of their 27 points have come at home. So it won't be easy. They are a hard nut to crack when they play at Vicarage Road. And they're still fighting for their lives, but what Nigel Pearson has done by going there, he's given them a great chance to get out of the trouble that they were in before he went there.
Interesting stat that, Walshy, that Ewan just brought up about Watford's home form. We touched upon it a little bit earlier, didn't we, about the fans and about would this change home advantage in some sort of way. So I guess that is a positive from a Leicester point of view.
It certainly is. You know, we've had plenty of days at Vicarage Road and know what the atmosphere is like there. It's a tight ground, and this makes it a lot different in a sense of obviously atmospheric. So it's just you know, the one thing you look at these games and you've got that feel of just a pre-season friendly game, but there's so much at stake, top and bottom in this game. This is a key game for both teams and so much riding on it. So the pressure could tell a little bit, you know, with both teams. Might be a little bit of a nervy start, but you know, it's winner takes all in this game, I'm afraid.
Well, before this week, we asked you fans at home, all you Leicester City fans, to give us your messages for the players ahead of the restart. And one message that came through loud and clear, really, from all of you at home was that you're with the players then, you're with them now, and you'll be with them again. And the players themselves have responded to that.
Hi Leicester City fans, this is Yuri. Thank you for all your kind messages. I hope you'll be supporting us from home as you do in the stadium.
We're not in LE2. Our hearts and minds will be with you.
There is something special happening at Leicester City again.
Hello lads, greetings from Peru. Just wanted to thank you for all the effort and wish you very good luck. I am proud to be a Leicester fan and hope we can end the season in the best way as possible.
No walking down Filbert Way for us today. No sitting in our seats at the KP or chanting your names in the away end.
Your defence is terrifying, bodies on fire.
Even though you can't be with us in the stadium, we know that we will still have your unconditional support through every minute of every match.
But one thing's for sure, we'll be behind you 100%.
Hey Leicester City, I'm here to wish you some good luck in your upcoming matches.
I know you're not going to be there at the stadium, but we know you're going to be watching at home, cheering us on.
No matter the result, we'll always be proud of our club, the players, the staff, the manager. So go out there, do what you've done so many times before.
We'll make you proud on the pitch, don't worry about that.
We're all in this together. Come on, Leicester.
One thing that I know we can promise you is that Foxes never quit. And we never will.
With you then, with you now, and we will be with you again. Good luck, boys.
Come on, you Foxes! Come on, Leicester!
Come on, Leicester, come on. Come on, boys, come on, do me proud.
Thank you so much for all your messages of support. We really appreciate it. Now we want to finish the job off, give you something to celebrate at home, and then one day, when it's all safe and it's all good, then we can celebrate together. Look forward to seeing you all.
Come on, Leicester City from Thailand!
Come on, Leicester!
Come on, Leicester!
Come on, Leicester!
Come on, Leicester City!
Come on, Fox. I'm always with you.
So keep cheering for us, and we'll do everything we can to make you proud.
For you then, for you now, for you again.
Yes, thank you for your incredible support at home. Those videos and all the support that you send means an awful lot to the Leicester City players ahead of this first game with Watford. The scene's currently at Vicarage Road. They're in the tunnel at the moment, the Leicester City players. Matt, we saw that video there. It's very emotional. The fans at home, they clearly want to tell the players how much they mean to them and how much they'll still mean to them, despite the fact they can't be there in the stadium, in the away end at Vicarage Road, where they normally would want to be.
Yeah, it was a nice clip, wasn't it? And nice cut of videos there from different parts of the world, as I mentioned previously. From far and wide, and some not too far from home. It's Leicester City instills such passion in people, doesn't it? I mean, a lot of football supporters are, of course, but Leicester City, it's a one club city, sorry, and lots of people supported it from a very young age, over decades and decades, and you get that feel. And I think when you play for the club, and certainly I bought into it very quickly, as I know Steve did, and you before me. But I think things like that are a good reminder to the players as well. I wonder how much Brendan Rodgers will use that as part of his mental approach to the game. Because I think that's going to be a massive aspect of these games coming up, is how you apply yourself. Because there can be a tendency to maybe play a different style of football, because you could slip into, because of the lack of atmosphere, slip into a little bit of a pre-season mode. You might do things that you wouldn't ordinarily do when you've got 32,000 people with a beady eye on you, and you're a bit worried about making a mistake. And you can relax now a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But the reason I'm saying it is that little things like that just sort of stir the emotions, but they're also a little reminder of what you're doing. You're representing not just Leicester City, you're representing the area, and it means a lot to do that. And I think the players take great pride in that. It's not something that they just pay a bit of lip service to. You buy into it, and it becomes part of that spirit, and that determination, that extra edge that togetherness can bring, can have massive influences on your performances and ultimately your results. And it's very much a feeling of togetherness at the club. I think some football players just ply their trade, get on with their game, go home, don't really have too much concern for what supporters think. Leicester City, that doesn't appear to be the case to me. There is a genuine affection between players and supporters. And that message is very close to those players today. I'm sure you'll have seen on social media this week, they've got special shirts just around the Leicester City badge. Is that message with you then, with you now, with you again? So it is very close to the players, and it does mean an awful lot to them going into this game. Now, the players are out on the pitch at Vicarage Road. A reminder, if you do want to listen to it on LCFC Radio, you can do. That is available on LCFC Radio, as you would normally find it on a match day. But as the players are out, let's have a quick reminder of the Leicester City starting 11 this afternoon for their first game back. Kasper Schmeichel is in goal. James Justin, Johnny Evans, Kaglar Soyuncu and Ben Chilwell at the back four. Wilfred Ndidi, James Maddison and Yuri Tielemans as the midfield three, with Mark Albrighton and Jamie Vardy, with Harvey Barnes on the left-hand side as well, behind Jamie Vardy. Ewan, very quickly before kick-off, what are your final thoughts ahead of the game, and what's the important thing that Leicester have got to do straight away from kick-off, do you think?
Well, I think first and foremost, you've got to set a tempo. It's got to be a quick tempo. There's got to be an intensity about their play, which they have sort of set in the majority of their games this season. I think it's a strong-looking starting 11. I think the lads have touched upon it with injuries. That 11 sort of probably does pick itself. It's a great opportunity for James Justin. I'm really looking forward to seeing him play once again. Hopefully he can grasp it with both hands. And they know it's a mini season of 9 games now, and the prize for Leicester City is a massive one.
Welsh, I know you can see on your pictures now, obviously the players out on that pitch getting ready. The camera's trained on Jamie Vardy currently, and I find it staggering that we've gone an hour and we haven't mentioned the fact he's on 99 Premier League goals. And what an achievement that would be, whether he does it today, whether he does it Tuesday, or wherever he may do it. I'm sure he will do it, or he will do it at some point, but what a big moment that'll be for him.
It certainly will. I hope he does it today as well. It's a key game for us, and he'll be bang up for it. He knows what he wants to do, and he certainly he'll want to do it as quick as he can as well. It's important, I think. you know, you look at him, 16 goals as well. You know, that golden shoe they call it, I think now. He's certainly got a hell of a good chance to win that this season if we can get that supply line to him, which I'm sure we can. So, yep, today could be the day and be a momentous moment for him and his family and everyone in Leicester. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
Well, all of you at home, as I've said, can get involved with the show, City on the Sofa, this afternoon. All you need to do is reply to our tweets, put LCFC in a tweet, do it on Facebook, and those will come through to us. Send your pictures in, send your videos in. Dare I say, send a celebration video in of maybe celebrating Jamie Vardy's 100th Premier League goal, and we'll hopefully get some of the best ones up on the show this afternoon. But Matt, we're moments away now from kick-off. It seems like it's been forever, doesn't it, since Leicester City last kicked a football, and it was a good game, wasn't it, that win over Villa? So is it stupid saying that they can take confidence from that game because it was so long ago? Or can they say, and will Brendan Rodgers be saying, listen, last time you played, you won 4-0, let's do the same again?
If only it was that simple. But, yeah, it's such a time ago. But I think, listen, it's obviously good to have won the last game and got themselves out of a little bit of a sticky patch. You know, results were hard to come by for a number of reasons, and it wasn't quite clicking, was it? And there was a little bit of tension creeping in, and you could feel that, you know, from externally as well, and the media, and people were asking questions. But to put a couple of wrongs right against Aston Villa really settled the nerves, didn't it? I think it's too long ago to consider, you know, continuing the momentum, but without a doubt, that would just put, you know, a few nerves at rest, wouldn't it? That, right, boys, we are a good side. We always thought we were a good side because we've shown that earlier in the season. This is just a bit of a sticky patch we're going through, isn't it? They're hoping that it is, you know. And they found out against Aston Villa in what was a tense game. You know, both teams had a lot riding on that game. They were by far the better side, and you know, they'd be ruined the fact they couldn't express that in the League Cup, Carabao Cup semi-finals. But you know, that's done and dusted. But the normal order was resumed in the league, wasn't it? And it's just like a reconfirmation to them as individuals, but more importantly collectively. Yes, we are a good side to win that game like they did against a poor Villa on the night. But it just reaffirmed to them, yeah, what we thought earlier in the season and what everyone was saying about us is actually true. And now it will give them that extra spur, extra confidence to really go and see the job through. And I think they will do. There's a lot of fretting and anxiety about, are they going to do this? Are Man United going to catch them? Are Sheffield United, etc., etc. And without being overconfident, I think you'll find that Leicester will eventually do the job relatively comfortably.
Well, after 3 months and 103 days, Leicester City are finally back in Premier League action. All of the players at kick-off, as they have done throughout this Premier League weekend, took the knee for the incredibly important Black Lives Matter campaign. So, important moment there that both players did. But they're underway now. Watford had the ball for a little bit of time, didn't they, there, Walshy? And they've just had a throw-in, but it's now a goal kick. Or it's, in fact, it's a corner to Watford, Walshy, earlier.
Yeah, it's a good positive start. You know, Leicester really high-pressed that start, but Deeney seemed to back into Evans for me and got a free kick that I thought the referee got wrong, but it's given Watford an early corner, which hopefully comes to no avail.
Well, they've just cleared it away there. An unorthodox clearance from Kaglar Soyuncu there, Matty. Early signs of nerves, maybe, for Leicester, do you think? Or again, is it too early to...
Well, they don't want to be conceding too many set pieces, that's for sure, whether it be free kicks, corners, even throw-ins. You know, we spoke earlier about Watford's physical presence that they've got and the aggression they've got within the team. Well drilled, well organised set pieces. I think it was James Justin there who actually got that header away, was it initially? And it was a great delivery from Hughes, and I feared the worst. Sharp intake of breath, but Justin's got there, you know, very bravely and purposefully against players considerably taller than him. So he's shown another asset that he has it to his game, but Leicester on not the counter now, but breaking forward themselves. And yeah, it's just such a weird scenario, isn't it? You know, without that crowd, because the crowd does have a big influence on, you know, the emotions of the game. Sometimes
referee
the
decisions as well.
Referees, hugely. I think you'll probably get. I don't know if there's been much evidence of it so far, to be honest, but you'll probably get a higher percentage of good decisions, I think, because they're not, you know, referees are human, that they are going to get swayed, and that's why people do it, and players get at them, etc. But, you know, although I saw the game with Man United Tottenham last night when the penalty was given and that was overturned, wasn't it, by the ref? But yeah, it's interesting to see what each team's approach is. You know, will they play their normal game, or will they try and be a bit more expansive? For instance, the teams that are defensive, you know, play with a bit more freedom. And you know, if that is the case, I'm looking more at defenders as well. Defenders, all of a sudden, they might relax that little bit because they haven't got the worry of making a mistake and 30,000 people, you know, breathing down their necks and criticising. They might try a little something they wouldn't normally, which could fall into Jamie Vardy. We know that he's the ultimate pressuriser and poacher, isn't he?
Well, we've just lost Iwan Roberts temporarily. Hopefully we'll get him back relatively shortly. Walshy, Leicester had a chance, didn't they, with a free kick. It was very much James Maddison set-piece territory of getting a good ball into the box, but it was cleared. But it's been the kind of start you'd probably expect, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's a decent start. You know, Watford have, you know, they've given the ball away cheaply in two, you know, good positions for Leicester. So it's put us on the front foot again, and they're certainly knocking the ball around nicely. For me, this is a good start. It's a dominant start, and Watford are sitting so deep by the looks of it at the minute. Obviously scared of the pace of Vardy, but the way that we're into play, combination play, it's you know, really looking good at the minute.
Iwan, have we got you back there in Norwich? Are you with us again?
Ewan's gone.
No, Ewan's gone. Still got it. It'll just have to be us three for now. Matty, we're just having a look now. Still, Soyuncu on the ball. He's giving it away there, hasn't he? It's a throw into Watford at the moment. But we've talked again about the atmosphere and about the start and about how difficult maybe it is for managers of all clubs at the moment to try and get those players really G'd up for the game beforehand, because usually they would rely on the crowd, wouldn't they? Even away teams would rely on hearing the travelling supporters at this stage.
Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? You know, it takes some getting used to, you know, for players and managers, you have to say as well. You know, they'll be doing their own sort of background research on little tips on how they can keep the players at it, you know, as motivated as possible, and you know, replicating. Obviously not the atmosphere, but the mentality that they bring into normal Premier League games. And you know, so far, the game here is reflecting the normal passages that the teams would go through. Watford have applied themselves with a set piece, but they've also, as Steve just mentioned, they're just sitting right off and allowing Leicester to have possession. You know, Troy Deeney, their most advanced player, is 15, 20 yards inside his own half. Now, they sort of lull you into a false sense of security at times. You feel like you're dominating the game, but you're not necessarily getting anywhere. They are quite hard to break down a little bit, you know, Watford, when they're set up like that. But then they pick and choose their moments to be more expansive and to try and break out. And that's probably when Leicester are more likely to get their joy. But yeah, it can be a little bit cat and mouse playing against Watford, that's for sure.
A reminder, you can listen to today's game on LCFC Radio if you do want to do so. And again, please do get involved with our first episode of City on the Sofa. Tweet us your thoughts, pictures and videos, and hopefully we'll get some of the best ones on the show. There was always going to be some technical difficulties, wasn't there, in the very first edition of City on the Sofa. I believe we do have Iwan Roberts back in the room with us again.
I'm back, Dan, I'm back. The problem I had, the missus had gone out, forgotten to take the front door keys, so she kept on knocking, didn't she? So I had to let her back in quickly. Sorry about that.
That's
you let the dog out soon as well, Ewan.
The perils of working from home, Ewan. Well, thank you for being back with us.
Technology and me don't really go together.
You haven't missed too much in the game as of yet. A couple set pieces really for each side. We're just saying that they're both getting a feel for the game early on at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, you would expect as a home side for Watford maybe to start quicker, start brighter, be more on the front foot. You know, I think that is to be expected. But I think 15, 20 minutes into this first half, I think Leicester will get a grip of it.
It's something we probably saw with all the other Premier League games that have taken place so far. It was kind of a more pedestrian start to what maybe you'd see normally in the Premier League when there are fans there.
Yeah, I think that's true to say. You know, I watched the Aston Villa Sheffield United game. The first game behind closed doors, it was strange. I don't think the tempo to that game was as high as what it would be in a natural situation. I thought the Man City game was better. City did play with that high tempo. You know, you look at Southampton last night. I thought they were tremendous. I really enjoyed the Spurs Man U game. It is going to take time. You know, even at the start of a normal season, it takes players 6, 7, 8 games to get their match fitness to where it should be, and that's after six weeks of hard work pre-season. And these lads have had 3 weeks of preparation to get themselves ready. So you know, it's no wonder really, and we shouldn't be surprised that the tempo to these games that have already been isn't what it should be.
Well, I think that's an incredibly salient point, Ewan, because a lot of people talk about the fans, and that might be a reason behind the tempo. But Walshy, as Ewan was saying there, that effectively this is the first game back from pre-season, isn't it? Really, that I know most clubs have had a few behind closed doors friendlies, but this is the real first one that fans have had a chance to properly look at. So certainly fitness and just getting back to being used to playing with each other must be a factor as well.
Yeah, it's certainly strange in a lot of ways, and like I said, it's just whoever hits that ground running. But Leicester certainly look bang at this. You know, there's another chance there, and it's certainly not just a good start. They're controlling the game in the first 10 minutes, which is good to see. And the the fitness, we'll have to look a little bit more closely at that as the game goes on. But they certainly look bang up for it, do Leicester.
Well, Matty, we thought that could maybe have been the moment for Jamie Vardy. It could maybe have been 100 Premier League goals, but actually it was fantastic defending, wasn't it, by Dawson?
Just about did enough there, didn't he, Dawson? But beautiful play from Leicester there. A good interchange movement between Barnes and Chilwell, and it was spotted. I think it was Tielemans, was it? Played the ball through. It got the wrong side of Sarr there, and Chilwell did well. You know, he'll be encouraged by that. He's got the march on his opposite number, delivered a decent enough ball, and as you say, Vardy was hoping to get a little nick at the outside of the foot. Maybe there's another half opportunity. Barnes coming inside. Strike and block. So they're Watford with numbers. You'll find that they are frustrating to play against. You know, that was excellent movement with Barnes and Chilwell that we just mentioned. Good ball in. Great play from Leicester. Textbook training ground play. You know, being transferred to where it matters. But there's a body there, you know, and they are quite good at that at Watford. You can break their hearts maybe, you know, if you get yourself a 2-goal lead. But up until then, they're very determined. And ultimately, it was good defending, but encouraging for Leicester nonetheless.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated as much as we can with the game. I will at some point, I'm sure, have to interrupt these guys if there's a big chance or a goal. But Ewan there, we thought maybe, as Matt said, a chance potentially for Jamie Vardy. Just after that, Harvey Barnes had a shot blocked. Yuri Tielemans then shot wide. Brendan Rodgers will be encouraged by the last little passage of play.
Yeah, they're starting to get to grips with the game, aren't they? Starting to dominate in that midfield area. A really, really good chance for Jamie Vardy. Great ball towards that near post by Ben Chilwell. I mean, Jamie Vardy does all he can. He attacks that space. Got to say, great defending by Craig Dawson. But I think Leicester now starting to get hold of the game.
Well, there, Maddison, when he picked it up, Walsh, he immediately looked left, didn't he? Ben Chilwell, I know we're only 10 or 12 minutes in, aren't we? But he seems to be getting a lot of freedom, a lot of the ball on that left-hand side. And that looked like it was James Maddison's first thought was get the ball out to Ben Chilwell on that left.
But, they're really stretching Watford at the minute. They're switching the ball quickly, which is great. It certainly, like I said, they're well on top at the moment. Just got to keep this domination. Just be careful, if we're diving into tackles midfield, you slipped through before. But on the whole, like you say, Maddison, he's just finding them little holes and they're moving that ball quickly, which certainly is stretching Watford now, which is good. When you see Ben Chilwell coming forward like that, Matt, we talked a lot in the build-up about Ismail Assar potentially being the danger man for Watford and how Leicester might counteract him. I guess Leicester are almost playing with a fight fire with fire approach. You know, if Ben Chilwell keeps getting forward, Ismail Assar has to track back, and potentially is that the way to try and stop him? No, it certainly looks to be the case early on, doesn't it? I mean, you have to be aware of opposition's attributes, of course you do, and that'll be part of the build-up and preparation, looking at their strengths. But exactly as you mentioned there, the best form of defence is attack sometimes, make him work the other way. And it doesn't look like Sarr naturally does that. Ben's got the march on him on a couple of occasions. And the players are intelligent lads. They're picking up on that, Maddison in particular. I think you'll see a flurry of balls going out to Chilwell. Certainly if that continues to be the case. Maddison's picking it up. They're not restricting themselves, as we see evidence here. Go right, left, and as Steve mentioned, they're stretching Watford. But if I'm a left back there who's got the march on a right winger, and I've been fed a couple of times there, happy days. I'm thinking, right, as John Robertson used to say to us, Walsh, didn't he, in training? Mind you, he was a hell of a player, but feed the bear, keep giving it me, right? And Ben Chilwell should be saying the same now. He's had some joy. Go and hammer home the point until Watford can find a solution for him. Well, we've got more of your pictures and tweets of you guys watching at home, so we can take a look at a few of those ones here on City on the Sofa. There's Laurie Fearson watching at home with clearly a very young child there, so she's cheering the Foxes on. Issa LFC with a fantastic shirt collection there. That's his setup. Looks like his sofa, so a good away end terrace there. And that's Claire watching along as well. She's said how she has missed seeing this. Haven't we all, Claire? This is Kerry. She's watching the Foxes again at home with her feet up. There's a chance, though, potentially for Jamie Vardy, just as we're looking at this. On the left-hand side, he's cut in and he's had a shot. It's gone just wide. And this is Ricardo Pereira as well, cheering the Foxes on from home. He says, "Let's go, boys." So that's nice to see that Ricardo is cheering the Foxes on. And this is David as well. He's got his TV set up there, ready to cheer the Foxes on, and a couple mini filberts there, of course, which is nice to see. So as it said there, share your pics with us using hashtag LCFC. Ewan, as we were looking at those tweets, there was half a chance for Jamie Vardy again.
There was. Just fails to hit the target, but it all comes from that hard work from Vardy, putting defenders under pressure. He makes Cabasele makes a mistake. He gets onto the bits and pieces. Sadly, couldn't hit the target. But what I've noticed, the two both fullbacks for Watford are pushed quite high, and they've isolated Vardy with the two centre halves who are playing a high line, which will absolutely be superb for Jamie Vardy because he can punish them behind them.
Ewan, you said yourself about 5 minutes in when Watford had seen a lot of the ball that you expected probably to see that for a little bit, but then 15, 20 minutes in, Leicester would start to dominate the game. And that really is exactly what's happened. Leicester seeing a lot of the ball and they're controlling the tempo, they're controlling the game.
They're controlling possession, and that's the most important thing. And when we're speaking about Sarr, we've talked about his attacking strengths. How do you nullify that? Well, the best way to nullify is for Ben Chilwell to cause him problems going the other way, to make him turn and run towards his own goal. It's all one-way traffic at the minute, and it's great to see.
Well, half shouts for handball there, Matt, against, I think it was Messina, that the fullback for Watford, James Justin, put the cross in. Yeah, again, good dominant play by Leicester. Wilfred Ndidi with a nice measured pass there to the forward run from James Justin, but it's fired at him. I mean, there's a fair distance between the defender and Justin there. We've seen a bit, I think, half-hearted claims, weren't they, really?
Yeah, he's hit him on the arm, but he had his arms behind his back. There's no way he's any intention of any handball. But it's a corner, though, Matt, for James Maddison.
Yeah, decent delivery, a little bit deep there. Not quite up to Maddison's normal standard, but we're trying to pick up the pieces, get forward again. But yeah, it's that's disappointing really there, isn't it? You get players forward and you're meant to cover front, front and back in the middle of the goal, and it's still gone over their heads. That you expect better really at that level, but opportunities not to be wasted. But they're still looking pretty comfortable, as the boys are saying at the moment.
Yeah, Walshy, when you look at any Brendan Rodgers team, whether he was at any of his previous clubs, obviously a lot of his thought process is about controlling possession, as Iwan Roberts says, about keeping the ball and then about penetrating at the right times. And that's what we've seen since he's come in and taken charge of the Foxes.
Absolutely. And, you almost feel at the minute that if we can keep this up, this pressing in the way we are, that Watford have got no alternative than going long ball all the time at the moment. They've got no answers. And I just hope we can sustain this with our fitness levels, because, we're just causing so much disruption. We're switching play quickly, and it's just, he's put in Watford, you see now again, they've just got to go long. That's all they can do at the moment.
On the training ground at Beaver Drive, Walshy, how much work do you think goes into what Brendan Rodgers has implemented and how he implements this system and the way they control possession and particularly off the ball as well, the way that they press so high?
I think it's well known that he's very disciplined, he's very organised, is Brendan, and like I say, he's the ideal manager for these players, these younger players, because he certainly nurtures them and brings them on and gives them the freedom to play. And you can see that, even there in tight spaces, we're able to get out, and it's causing Watford a lot of trouble. So as a manager and what he's influenced on this team, it's been brilliant.
They looked for half a second there like that bounce Matt was going to take the ball over Dawson's head and Jamie Vardy was going to be in.
Wishful thinking, Dan, but I know what you're saying there, and Vardy was waiting to sniff, wasn't he? As Ewan said about, Kabasele making half an error and Vardy nearly getting in there, and in that instance there with Dawson, he's always looking for that little slip from defenders. But going back to the question you asked, Steve, there, I think it's evident that Leicester, rehearsed their style of play day after day after day. It's so precise, isn't it? Sometimes a little bit too much, I felt, at certain times in the season. You said about looking for that penetration at the right time, and I think sometimes it's sort of over-elaborated, but when they get it at the right balance, it's hugely effective. I think a difference, say, from when Leicester were playing under Claude Puel, when it was possession-based, but it was all a little bit, a little bit sedate, wasn't it, and a little bit slow, basically. The first thought with these boys is forward, but they move into position before their teammate is ready to pass. They're almost, they create these little triangles, don't they, all over the pitch, and it's effective, but it's productive as well, isn't it? It's not just pretty on the eye. There's a purpose about their play, and say that they see an opportunity and they back themselves. They know they've got the support from the manager to actually try and make that killer pass, to do something a little bit different, be inventive in the final third, as Brendan Rodgers says. And it seems commonsensical, doesn't it? In a football context, but it's the way that most people would like to see their team play. Players enjoy playing that style, and they've got the ability to do so, and they're maximising it at the moment, Leicester City, under the leadership of Brendan Rodgers.
The one thing, Matt, they've got to be careful of is just a mistake, one little mistake, because we certainly play in tight areas and in some dangerous areas. We've just got to be careful. We're doing really well. Don't I'm not going to discourage it, but just one little error.
That's a risk that sometimes you have to take, doesn't it? It's it's a little bit of a payoff, isn't it, for having a style of football but it being effective as well. You're not just passing or taking risks for the sake of it, but taking a risk like James Justin did there a couple of minutes ago that you mentioned in the right back area. A little step over and he's turned around and he's gone back to Schmeichel, where it would have been easier just to clear it up the pitch. They tried to retain possession, and over a period of time, the theory is that you'll get your benefits out of it, by keeping possession and trying to play your way through. Not to maybe the same level, but Manchester City. Sometimes you think, why are they doing that? But it is their their theory, their method of playing, and they're good enough to do it. That's the key. If you haven't got players who are talented enough, but Leicester City have got some high quality players capable of playing very good football.
During his press conference, Ewan, ahead of the game, Brendan Rodgers was asked about Andy King and Wes Morgan and their very much further future going forward, whether there'd be potential roles for them at Leicester City, whether it be on coaching staff. And Brendan said, yeah, of course there always would be in any roles, but not every player wants to go down that way, and every single player is different. But what he emphasised was how much work goes into being a manager and how much work goes into being a coach, because I guess as players, once you finish a training session, you'd go home and that would be it. You didn't really have to think too much about football, but being a manager, a top level coach, you constantly have to be thinking and working and planning, don't you?
Right, and it's not just looking after 11 players on a match day. You've got to keep 25, 30 players happy. And Brendan's got that knack to a fine art, to be fair. I don't think there's anybody better in the game keeping a healthy squad of players happy in a good place mentally. Dan, it's not easy to do. You mentioned two players there in Andy King and Wes Morgan who have been absolutely magnificent for Leicester City. You know, Andy's been there since 2006, 400 odd games. I think he still wants to play. But looking at Wes, is his career coming towards an end? If it is, then I'm sure there would, or there will be a role with Brendan's back, with his staff on that side of the game for Wes. But it's not an easy job to do, and it takes a special kind of coach, manager to do what Brendan's doing at Leicester, keeping everybody happy and making sure that when they're called upon, they're both mentally and physically ready to step into that first team.
I can assure you're not missing any football as we speak. They've just taken one of their 2 drinks breaks midway through this first half there. We talked a little bit about Wes Morgan, his future there. There's some news that came out this week, Matt. Eldon Jakubovic, Wes Morgan, Christian Fuchs, all signing a 1-year contract extension. What did you make of that news?
Yeah, but it harks back to the point we were talking about earlier in terms of recognition of the characters within the group, as Brendan Rodgers calls it, stroke squad. He realises the dynamics of the squad itself, on a day-to-day basis, and the effect that has, because you do reflect your manager's personality a bit, and he likes a little bit of a laugh and a joke. He's very professional, he's very thorough, he's very detailed, knowledgeable, but he likes a little laugh and a joke when the time's right, and he'll be big on the atmosphere within the camp. And he's stated publicly that Wes Morgan is a huge influence there, right? Understandably so. You can see that from a mile off, can't you? For the player he is, the character he is, and he's been the captain, and the things that he's led Leicester City through over the last few years. Ever decreasing amount of time on the pitch, still more than capable when called upon. He has a huge influence there, and he can help other players through, and just maintains that mentality, doesn't he? Him in particular, Christian Fuchs also. What a super character he is. Top quality player, top quality professional as well, and a great influence on other players in and around. And again, still, he's not there just out of empathy or because he's a nice bloke. He's a very good player as well. But he can bring quite a lot to the table. He'll push Ben Chilwell all the way. Some people think Fuchs should have got a longer run. So Chilwell's always going to be the man at the end of the day that comes through. But he's there to pressurise, but he's also there to help and support Ben Chilwell as well. They all play their part. And goalkeeper's a funny old position, isn't it, for Jakubovic there. He's hardly got a game since he's been here. He's third choice, but you can stay in the Premier League that way, and you still serve a purpose, and you always carry on with the faint hope that you're going to get more games under your belt. Highly, highly unlikely, But such is the nature of the goalkeeping position. You know, I think a lot of people maybe think, well, why don't you go Championship and maybe play first team? There's an argument for that. But again, I don't know. We don't know a lot about him. We don't see him that regularly. But I could pretty much guarantee that he's a good, solid character as well. For Brendan to want him to stay on board and to have the right attitude. When you're third choice, you've not much hope of getting a first team appearance, but you still got to keep your spirits up and be part of that squad. And you know, good luck to him if that's the way he wants to go about it. But I think, you know, 3 key signings about the mentality and approach that Brendan Rodgers has.
On the pitch at Vicarage Road, Leicester have the ball. They've had the most of the ball in this first half. Kasper Schmeichel has the ball at the moment, but an interesting one, Iwan. Will Hughes lucky not to get booked at one point there after taking James Maddison out?
Yeah, he can count himself very fortunate not to have picked up the first yellow card in this game. He was late. It was a naughty challenge, and he's a lucky boy. I'm just glad to see James Maddison, you know, back on his feet straight away. I'm just going back to your point about the style of play under Brendan. I mean, when you're going to play possession-based football, you've got to have good footballers from the back to the front. And Leicester have, you know, they've got 2 centre halves who are comfortable with the ball at the feet, who are comfortable with coming out with the ball, and they've got 3 midfielders in front of them who will have the ball in anywhere on that pitch, whether they're under pressure, whether they're being closed down, they're happy to receive that ball. You know, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of hard work and time on the training pitch. But Leicester have got it off to an absolute team. We were watching the warm-ups, Matt, earlier, weren't we? Wilfred Ndidi smashed one in the top corner, didn't he? He just had a similar-ish chance. It was about 25, 30 yards out. He tried a similar curling effort, went wide.
Do you know, exactly, having watched that goal in the warm-up, I thought, do you know what? Strangely, I half fancy Wilfred here. Should have known better, shouldn't I? When he gets that shout to shoot, I'm like, no, you hear it at the King Power. He's scored a couple of spectacular efforts, hasn't he? Both via deflections, I think. But I think he's got the lowest ratio of shots at goal that have ended up on target in the Premier League. And unfortunately, he's just added to that those opportunities that he's missed. But yeah, it fell nicely for him, didn't it? Nice play again by Leicester, switching it left to right, pushing and probing. But Watford back in numbers. It's so difficult to break down when the impetus has been taken out of the attack and defences are set in place. You're almost resigned to the fact you've got to either just put it in the mixer and hope for the best, or shots from distance. And unfortunately, Wilfred couldn't keep it on target. But Leicester looking comfortable enough still.
Well, James Maddison seems to be getting a lot more of the ball in this last 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, he's certainly causing problems. And going back to, you know, the tackle, it was a little bit naughty. He was lucky to get away with that. With Hughes, he's getting a little bit frustrated at the moment. So it's good, you know. Just going back to Iwan's point as well, with the, you know, the way that we play, the style of play, and the passing and the technical ability of these players. I think our recruitment process now is carefully analysed. Before we sign a player, they have to be technically gifted players, and every one of them can pass and play. And it's just good to see. It's a joy to watch some of this football.
Half a chance there, Matt, for Watford, wasn't there? Abdoulaye Doucouré looked as if he might be getting in, but Johnny Evans was there, as he always has been this season.
Yeah, just basic direct play from Watford. You know, something you come to expect from them semi-regularly. But Deeney, the target man, he's got a man in front, a man behind, still wins the header. Yeah, he's perhaps not tight enough in front of him and Deeney there, but yeah, got a good toe in. Barnes almost broke free, didn't he? That would have been interesting. Knocked that ball just another yard further. Would have given him time and space to outstrip Hughes, I think. And it would have been probably a 2-on-2 situation. But
this is where we've got to be careful of Matt Deeney. Obviously, you know, they've got to really keep an eye on him, mark him properly. He's a danger on set pieces.
Yeah,
there he is, causing problems.
Johnny Evans cleared it. It was actually a similar moment like that Watford took the lead against Leicester in this fixture last season, Walsh at Vicarage Road. It was a ball in which Deeney flicked on.
Yeah, exactly. There, you know, we've just got to be careful we don't give silly free kicks away in positions like that, which can just change the momentum of this game, because we've certainly got a grip of the game, but incidents and free kicks like that will put us on the back foot.
Kasper Schmeichel seems to be picking up Troy Deeney as well, Matt, from set pieces.
Yeah, expectedly so. He's strong and aggressive, robust, as is Deeney. Good contest between the two, but Leicester do often look a little bit uncomfortable at set pieces. They're not the biggest team in the league by any stretch of the imagination. And Watford they're quite disciplined, they're quite patient, aren't they? They're not that concerned about having the greater percentage of possession and looking the more attractive side, although they do have ability within their team. Pereira on the ball there being one of them. A half-decent ball, but if you're crossing from that distance, you should be able to deal with it, defenders, and I think Schmeichel will be having a word there with Sohuncu, come on, tighten up a little bit, although ultimately he got there. Decore getting a shot off, never really fancied him, but that's probably the best effort that Watford have had so far, I would say. There haven't been too many goal-mouth opportunities. But Watford, I would say, going back, they're dogged, they're determined. They're not worried about looking pretty. They have ability when it counts, on occasion, but they're happy to just scruff it out. And if it comes off Dawson and ricochet to Decore, that is dangerous.
Yeah, big save from Kasper Schmeichel at Vicarage Road. I think it was Decore that got in, wasn't it? But a fantastic save, Walshy, from Kasper Schmeichel.
It was a fantastic, and indeed, he's just, his first touch there bounced too far back off him, and he's giving it straight with Deeney, I think it was, wasn't it? A little touch inside, and that's a chance. What a save from Kasper.
Well, Iwan
he's
really
got to pull it into the other corner, but he hasn't, and it's a great save.
Watford should be 1-0 up, really, Iwan.
Yeah, great chance. It is a great chance. I don't think he's in the best of goal-scoring form, Dean. I think he's got one goal in his last 5 appearances. I think most of his goals this year have come from penalty, but he'll be disappointed with not missed, because that's the wrong thing to say. It's a fantastic save by Kasper, who's had nothing to do, and that's the hardest thing for a goalkeeper. When you go through a long period of a game where your team's in front of you and they're keeping possession, you've got to keep yourself bright, you've got to keep yourself aware, because you're going to be called upon at some stage in this game, and you're going to have to do what you get paid for. That's exactly what Kasper did there. Fantastic save.
Yeah, best chance of the game so far going to Watford, but as Iwan Roberts said, in the build-up to the game, we heard from Kasper Schmeichel. Iwan Roberts said he was imperative in this Leicester City team, and that's exactly why, with saves like that. As we do approach half-time, please do get involved with our show here, City on the Sofa, here on LCFC TV. Send us your thoughts ahead of half-time and what Leicester can maybe do differently in the second half, and we'll get some of those best tweets and Facebook posts up on the show during half-time. A bit of a wake-up call, Matt, would you say, that moment and that chance for Decore?
Well, we're saying how comfortable Leicester are, which they are, with the lion's share of possessions. But I think, up to this point, that Brendan will be thinking it's a little bit over-deliberate. They haven't created too many chances. They haven't been able to penetrate, too often, if at all, Watford. And we know about Watford's defensive qualities when they're set up like this under Nigel Pearson. Chilwell's got in once or twice, shots from distance, but they haven't really threatened, have they, too often? And like you say, just something simple like that. It was reminiscent a little bit of Ndidi's error against Chelsea last season when
earlier this season.
Yeah. Sorry, this season, wasn't it?
Yeah. Isn't it? But it was this
Sorry, technically, yeah, it seems that long ago. We're talking. Walsh was mentioning about the fact that you're running the risk of overplaying, and you've got to back yourself. But again, little errors like that can be hugely costly. Watford should have scored, really. When you thought they would have done better, at least worked Schmeichel more. But much as we're talking about, let's say, the comfortable manner with which Leicester are playing, there's not a cutting edge there, and Watford will be reasonably happy with the way things are going, because they're happy with a 50-50 toss of the coin to get the result or not, or they wouldn't be overly disappointed if they got the draw, would they? So the onus is on Leicester to be a little bit more creative, I feel, a little bit more edge to their game.
Well, as we approach half-time, let's have another reminder of how you guys are listening in, watching in, following along at home this first game, not with any fans at the stadium. This is Joe Lecoe watching it on his laptop. He says, the things you do for love on the porch watching Leicester City. Fantastic there from Joe Lecoe. This is from Jez Large, obviously watching the Foxes in his front room, as I know pretty much all of you are back at home. There's a selfie there of someone in his Leicester City gear. He's obviously very excited for the return of the Premier League and the return of Leicester City. Oh, and a great setup there. Fantastic setup, in fact, in the garden again on a sunny day. They've developed a new Leicester City bubble, they say on social media, for this one. And even the family cat is involved in this next one, watching Leicester City play. So thank you very much for those. Do send more of those into us here on City on the Sofa. We've not missed too much action again, Ewan, have we, on the pitch?
No, I think it's fair to say that Watford have had their best period of the game. You know, they are direct. They are going to go up, you know, early towards Troy Deeney for him to win things in the air and knock things down. So, you know, Leicester have to compete and be aware of those threats. That looks like, but Leicester have looked more dangerous going down that left-hand side with Chilwell, with Barnes, and maybe that should be expected because obviously there's no Ricardo and young James Justin has come in. So I'm not surprised that they've looked more threatening going down the left-hand side.
Well, I'm assuming, we've just seen a replay, I'm assuming Leicester City have a free kick in a good position here. It certainly looked like a foul by Messina on James Justin. It is in fact a free kick to Leicester City. Similar position, Walshy, to the one they had right at the beginning of the half. James Maddison standing over it on this right-hand side. He'll be looking to curl it in. It's a little bit of a different angle to what a corner might be.
Yeah, he's just got to whip it, you know, so that the keeper can't reach it in that area, right near the penalty spot, if you will, right behind them defenders, and make sure that there's a good movement from the Leicester players.
There is the ball in from Maddison, flicked away though, fantastic defending, and Deeney can bring it away on the right-hand side, but that, Matt, is exactly what Walshy was after, that kind of driven ball in there, that corridor of uncertainty, but it was good defending in the end.
Was good defending, which you expect from Watford these days. You know, well disciplined. Yellow card there for Tielemans, isn't it? He looks as perplexed as I am. Yeah, it's a tap of the knee. I think he'd lost control of the ball there, hadn't he?
Iwan Roberts disgusted in Norwich as well at that decision.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't give the yellow card to Will Hughes for this tackle on
absolutely.
James Maddison after about 20 minutes, it's a free kick. He has caught it. Is it a yellow card? Not in a million years for me.
It was the scream that did it, by the looks of it. But no, it's you know, like you say, comparing that to the Hughes challenge it had to be. But Watford, you know, they've had 10-15 minutes of some good play and danger and chances. So it's a warning shot to Leicester. We've just got to be careful that we don't overplay in areas where, you know, things can happen for Watford, and just, you know, more. Harvey Barnes and have got to get a little bit more into the game if we can. I've not seen enough of him or Brighton at the minute, them two kind of players. So Watford have certainly, you know, worked out where Leicester have been doing well and causing us problems, and seem to have got a few answers at the moment.
Another important piece of goalkeeping as well there from Kasper Schmeichel. Marty looked at half a minute like Pereira might have been in, but Kasper did well to smother it.
Yeah, but it's I don't know what outside it was an element of handball there. No claims though. But yeah, I mean the ball was won too easily by Dawson. They've the two big lads there of Watford have gone fast stick. James Justin was up against them. You know, got beaten in the challenge far too easily, and the runner trying to get onto the ball. Yeah, looked like he might just get there ahead of Schmeichel at one stage, but Schmeichel looked calm and comfortable enough.
Nigel Pearson wants a penalty there, Matt.
Yeah, well, I think
you know, they touched
maybe the penalty as well, and I think he wanted the cutback of better quality. But going back to Leicester's free kick at the opposite end of the pitch, I think that ball in by Maddison was bang on the money. And to be honest, Leicester, they don't look like they back themselves at set pieces. You know, Watford are a big, strong, aggressive side, but you've got to have a bit of purpose there. Maddison's done all he could do, and everyone sort of just drifted into an area. There was no blocking, there was no sharp movement or reverse movement or willingness to get properly across your man in the danger area. And you know, it was a little bit of a wasted delivery, really. I think Leicester could you know, back themselves to get on the end of it more often and at least cause problems. But The quality was certainly there with the delivery.
Some neat interplay there, Iwan, between Jamie Vardy and he
Yeah.
really found Yuri Tielemans. I guess that kind of ball that maybe Jamie Vardy would have found is a sign of rustiness that all the players have got after this 3-month layoff.
Dan, I totally agree, mate. I think, you know, your fitness it's not what it should be. It's not where it should be. But it's that sharpness, especially in that final third. You know, as a centre forward, that is the last thing that comes back to you. That sharpness in the penalty box, in front of goal. Good build-up play, as you say. Nice little ball in, well-weighted pass into Jamie Vardy. You can see what Jamie's trying to do. He's trying to dink it over Messina for Brighton to run on, but just didn't quite catch it properly. But I totally agree with Walsh. I think Leicester definitely need more of Harvey Barnes and Mark Albrighton.
Is that something that could potentially be addressed at half-time, Matt, very early in the second half? A reminder that there are 9 substitutes on both benches, 5 can be used. So I guess using options and utilising players off the bench is all the more important at the moment.
Well, he's got those options on the bench without a doubt, hasn't he? You've got Perez, you've got Gray, Iheanacho. All of them can have an influence in an attacking sense. I think that, go back to my point about on occasion throughout the season, Leicester have been a little bit deliberate at times, or over-deliberate. You know, there's a decent opportunity to play that ball, and that was the right option. You know, switch it around a little bit, get Watford players thinking. You know, very rarely have they gone longish into the channels, and Vardy thrives on that because the build-up play has been a little bit pedestrian or a little bit slower than I think that he would want ideally, Brendan Rodgers. Watford have been able to get back in shape. Defenders had a little panic up there. OK, it was dealt with by Watford eventually, but the centre-half, Kabasele, looks like he gets caught sleeping a little bit. You know, despite the threat that Jamie Vardy carries, he's just ball watching a little bit and reacts a little bit late. There's definitely a possibility there, but you know, it's all nice play by Leicester, switch, pass, and you keep it. They're not hurting Watford at the moment, and maybe it sounds basic, sounds a bit primitive. Put it in early, turn them, squeeze up the pitch, maybe win the ball higher up the pitch, and then you can go and do your stuff in more advanced positions.
Yeah, look how deep Watford are now, Matt.
It's so hard to break down.
Now, you're right, and whenever a team does this, it frustrates Leicester a lot. We've worked it out a lot, you know. Don't forget, we're well in this game and playing well. But Watford seem to just saying, "Come on, then come at us with you know, you're not going to get behind us, and keep the players in front of you." So it's working at the moment quite well for Watford. But
they're happy to bide their time, also, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, they'll say, "Okay, you can have a possession, and our little phase in the game will come later on, maybe second half or whatever, and we'll try and take our chances then, if and when they arise." But yeah, it's difficult. Listen, it's easier saying this. Leicester, a more dominant team in terms of possession, but creating very little.
A corner though here, Iwan, for James Maddison, a chance.
He's had 3 or 4 from this right-hand side, and up to now, the delivery has been disappointing. You know, James, he's far better with his set-piece delivery than he's shown in this first half.
Yeah, well, Brendan Rodgers looks disappointed there. That corner did indeed hit the first man. The ball came back out. The ball is now it's a Watford throw-in. So visible signs, Walshy, of a little bit of frustration creeping in from Brendan Rodgers.
There is. He would have been really happy after 20 minutes, but Watford have that little drinks break. You can see what the Pearson seemed to change a little bit of the tactics and how they're defending and playing, and they've certainly got themselves back in this game, Watford, from being outplayed and looking a little bit dangerous now. So like I said, we've got to be careful. It's a good start. It's still a good contest, and like I say, but we've got to get more ball to Barnes, to Albrighton, and them positions at the minute are just being blanked out. So the creativity now is solely down to Maddison at the minute.
A reminder, you can listen to full match commentary on LCFC Radio. Our team of James Fielden and Jerry Taggart are down at Vicarage Road, socially distanced from each other, of course. There, the ball's just gone into the Leicester box, but it's again been cleared away. Fantastic sprayed ball, though, here on the right-hand side for Watford. It's a dangerous-looking ball, and they nearly scored there as well at the back post, Watford, didn't they, Matty?
He's done brilliantly there. James Justin
God, he has.
Got himself in the mix between Pereira and Cavaseli. Was it? What a ball that you mentioned, though, there, Dan. Kapuri, textbook, look at that, just guided it out there elegantly. What a delivery as well. You have to say, Sarr, was it, I think, who's whipped that ball in. And you feared the worst, didn't you? When it drifted over the two centre-halves. Schmeichel didn't know whether to stick or twist, and he was having a little bit of a panic. Brave by James Justin.
The more times you see that, the better it gets.
Very brave. When it all
unbelievable. Yeah, he's got two men to mark as well. He's took two of them out of the game there, Matt, by just being brave. You know, a last gasp stretch and a header. You know, he might have missed the ball even, but he's put them off, and that's what he needed to do. And I'll tell you what, I thought that was going from the cross. It just looked like they were going to score there, Watford. So again, they are knocking on the door of Watford. We've got to be careful. So it'll be an interesting half-time chat from Brendan, I'm sure.
Well, perhaps the first half, or the whistle for half-time, has come at a good time for Leicester City. That was the last action of the first half, that terrific defending at the back post there by James Justin. Still to come during half-time here on City on the Sofa. We'll have some match analysis. We'll take a look at some of your tweets and pictures and your thoughts on that first half.
We are an instinct that ignites action. We are a journey, taking one step more. And we are the heart that beats as one. We are proud to be more. De Montfort University, Leicester.
Hi Leicester City fans, this is Yuri. Thank you for all your kind messages. I hope you'll be supporting us from home as you do in the stadium.
We're not in LE2, our hearts and minds will be with you.
There is something special happening at Leicester City again.
Hello lads, greetings from Peru. Just wanted to thank you for all the effort and wish you very good luck. I am proud to be a Leicester fan and hope we can end the season in the best way as possible.
No walking down Filbert Way for us today. No sitting in our seats at the KP or chanting your names in the away end.
Your defence is terrified, bodies on fire.
Even though you can't be with us in the stadium, we know that we will still have your unconditional support through every minute of every match.
But one thing's for sure, we'll be behind you 100%.
Hey Leicester City, I'm here to wish you some good luck in your upcoming matches.
I know you're not going to be there at the stadium, but we know you're going to be watching at home, cheering us on.
No matter the result, we'll always be proud of our club, the players, the staff, the manager. So go out there, do what you've done so many times before.
We'll make you proud on the pitch, don't worry about that.
We're all in this together. Come on, Leicester.
One thing that I know we can promise you is that Foxes never quit, and we never will.
With you then, with you now, and we will be with you again. Good luck, boys.
Come on, you Foxes! Come on, Leicester!
Come on, Leicester, come on. Come on, boys, come on, do me proud.
Thank you so much for all your messages of support. We really appreciate it. Now we want to finish the job off, give you something to celebrate at home, and then one day, when it's all safe and it's all good, then we can celebrate together. Look forward to seeing you all.
Come on, Leicester City from Thailand!
Come on, Leicester!
Come on, Leicester!
Come on, Leicester.
Go, Leicester City!
Come on, Fox. I'm always with you.
So keep cheering for us, and we'll do everything we can to make you proud.
For you then, for you now, for you again.
Welcome back to City on the Sofa here on LCFC TV, the very first edition of this show as we welcome back Premier League football. It's half-time of Leicester City's first game back. It's 0-0 at Vicarage Road. Leicester probably had the best of it in the first 20-25 minutes before Watford came back into it there and had a couple of good chances towards the end. We can take a look at some of the stats from that first half at Vicarage Road right now, Matt. And as I said there, probably both sides will be relatively happy with the draw at the moment.
Yeah, I think so. They've got what they started with, haven't they? I think, in terms of possession, we're looking at these stats. That's what you would have expected prior to the game. Shots ratio, yeah, but majority of them have been from distance with Leicester. But you look at it, I mean, yes, it was a mistake by Leicester and Ndidi in this instance, but Watford have had the best chance and a couple of other semi-scares as well. In particular, that one right at the end when James Justin had to put literally his body on the line to avoid conceding just before half-time. So the game's in the balance. It's pretty much gone as I think most people would have foreseen. But there's plenty to work on, but I think you can be forgiven. The players can be forgiven for, the lack of edge to the performance for the reason that the boys have said there. It's been a sizable break, hasn't it? And a limited amount of training preparation, far from ideal. And before you know it, you're back in, back in the mix, playing in the Premier League. There's no crowd to boost that performance and that energy. And it's gone pretty much as you would have expected. A little bit of a tame affair, in truth, so far. Looking for an improvement in the second half. Can Leicester find a way to break down the discipline and determination of Watford?
We've got a poll currently live on LCFC's Twitter page. We've asked the fans out there how they see the second half going at Vicarage Road. So we can have a look at the latest there. And it's positive for Leicester City point of view. 60% of you at home think that Leicester will go on and win the game. 23% of you think it'll be a draw. And 17% of you, doom and gloom, think Watford, the home side, will get the win. Do you agree with that, Iwan? Do you think that's a fair assessment? Are Leicester fans right to be fairly confident going into the second half?
I think they are. They've got good options to come off the bench. I wouldn't be surprised if Iheanacho comes on and maybe they go with two up front, maybe adjust the shape slightly. They've dominated possession. They've just lacked that killer instinct in the final third, maybe a bit more imagination. Try and draw those Watford defenders out of their defensive areas. Watford have had the better chances. The best chance fell to Doucouré. You know, it did come from a Leicester mistake, trying to play out the back, and that's what you have to accept if you want to see your team play the way Leicester do. You know, there is going to be the odd hiccup, and they are going to give the ball away every now and then. But yeah, most definitely they just need to up the tempo in that final third, because of all the possession they've had. I can't remember Ben Foster in the Watford goal having a shot to save.
Walshy, do you envisage any changes for the Foxes at half-time?
I think I agree with you, and I think that could happen definitely. It's a great tactical test for these two managers. You can see how much they put into that side of the game, and it's an interesting one now. The game has certainly swung in the favour of Watford at the moment, and I'm guessing Brendan will come back with some kind of change at some point. Maybe not just at the start, but we have to be careful that these chances that Watford are getting now, that they don't score one, because then we're up against it. So I guess that this could happen. I think two up front would certainly favour. They seem to have blocked the outlets now to get wide. And they're almost saying to us, we'll sit back, you come through the middle, and there's no way through the middle anyway. So they're doing a job in as such, or Watford at the moment. So we'll see. But I think there will be changes, but not too soon. I don't know whether they'll come straight out with one. It'll be a brave move if he does. But Leicester overall dominated that first 20 minutes. Watford came back into it. They found some answers. It's a good game, and it's going to take something, maybe a Maddison free kick or something just to inspire this and get Leicester going again. So we'll see.
Looked like we had a mini accident there in Norwich, Ewan. Oh, he seemed to have lost the connection.
It's a major
His phone
accident.
fell over and now he's lost his connection to us.
Hi, Ewan.
There
he is.
Matty, while we look at the Leicester City bench and those options that they've got, forward-thinking players-wise, there's Jose Perez, Damari Gray, Kelechi Iheanacho, of course.
Yeah.
They're probably the main three, aren't they, from a really attacking point of view for the Foxes?
Yeah, I think that's a good point from Ewan. If Leicester are going to be positive about this and about this game and try and go for the victory, which would be more than welcome, I think there's a distinct possibility that Perez or Iheanacho, probably Iheanacho, I would imagine, would get the nod ahead of Perez. Who knows what's in Brendan Rodgers' thinking, just to get that extra presence in the vital areas, i.e. Watford's penalty box. There hasn't been enough action in there today, and it possibly, if Leicester don't make the breakthrough in the first 15, 20 minutes or so of the second half, then perhaps they'll go that little bit more direct, which I've suggested they maybe should do on times, on occasion anyway. Give Watford defenders a different proposition. And as I say, work in tandem a little bit and pressure Watford into little errors themselves, which they're trying to do to Leicester on occasion. When they're not sitting off, they pick and choose their moments to go and squeeze, and they've done it quite effectively. So, the game's very much in a balance, despite the stats being reasonably heavy in Leicester's favour. The actual reality is this game is very, very tight at the moment.
Is that a correct stat, that we've not had one shot on target? Is that right?
That is correct.
Really?
Walshy, yeah.
Doesn't feel that way, does it?
No, well, the players are preparing themselves in the dressing room to come out for the second half, so do join us in a couple of minutes here on City on the Sofa for the second half. Second half is back underway at Vicarage Road. It's Watford 0, Leicester City 0. Just having a quick scan down of the 11s there. Certainly from a Leicester point of view, Walshy, we can't see any changes yet.
No, we can't. And let's hope we can just settle into that rhythm that we started with after the first 20 minutes. Yeah, I was just eating something. Yeah, but no, listen, if we can just think about that first 20 minutes, how well we passed the ball, how quickly we moved it and got it wide quicker, to give them forward players a chance. But it's, again, a decent start to the second half.
What is that, your half-time oranges, is it, Walsh?
It is, yes, mate, yes.
When do you think the first change may come, Matt, in that second half?
Well, ordinarily.
For either team?
Yeah, I think Watford would be happy enough. Usually, it's normally around the hour mark, isn't it? Yeah, that's pretty much standard. But it'd be nice to see what intentions Brendan Rodgers got. If Leicester haven't got the breakthrough, will they go for the throat, or will they start settling, going, do you know what, a point away from home, whoever it's against, is not a bad way to sort of feel our way back into the season. But I think Brendan Rodgers has got more purpose about his approach than that. I think he'll look to get the win, and if he can create that, as you mentioned in the build-up to the game, that 10-point gap between third and fifth, that's a hell of a gap that is, and that will make a big difference psychologically as well. Double figures ahead, 8 games to go. It looks good, doesn't it? I think Leicester would be well served to be aggressive, be positive.
Well, this certainly is a chance for Leicester City. James Maddison, it's a free kick. It's about 25, 30 yards out. He's stepped up. He's tried to go around the wall. It has hit the Watford wall. I gave him a big build-up there. James Maddison, he is a free kick specialist, but not this time, Walshy, not this time.
I think from that distance, you've just got to have a little bit more of a bigger run-up. It seems to be that they can try and whip these balls around and bend it. OK, Maddison, we've seen him do it. It just seemed a little bit too far out to just have a 2-yard step up. And here's Watford.
Chance for Watford at the other end. Ismail Assar is in. Kasper Schmeichel again.
Save.
Another fantastic save. Iwan Roberts, you talked about him before kick-off, didn't you, about how important he is to Leicester City, and he showed it in the first half with that save from Decore. And then there, Ismail Assar looked for all the world like he was going to give Watford the lead, didn't he?
Dan, his starting position was absolutely top class. He's out, he's made himself big, and just as Sar's got that ball under control, he looks up, and Kasper Schmeichel's right in front of him. A sloppy play down that right-hand side. I think it's James Justin who loses possession, and then it's a quick counter-attacking move by Watford. But it's a magnificent save. It really, really is. He sprints out, he makes himself big. It's a big left hand, isn't it, by Kasper that keeps it out. Great goalkeeping, great save.
Yeah, it's come off his left hand, hasn't it, Matt? It looked from first viewing like maybe it hit his chest. You know how Kasper Schmeichel comes out, he makes himself big, doesn't he? Thought it hit his chest. It hadn't. It was his outstretched left hand that managed to save that, Matt.
Yeah, excellent goalkeeping. A little bit of a gamble when you come out like that, but you're sort of hedging your bets, aren't they? Spreading yourself as best you can rather than actually reacting and saving the ball. But hats off to him there. I mean, it's similar to his father, with the risk of being a little bit predictable, but he has learnt that off his father Peter there, because he was well known, wasn't he?
That's a classic Peter Schmeichel saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Classic.
Like father, like son there, and it's
Brilliant.
come to great use, hasn't it? Because Leicester were just ripped open there when it was loose ball. I think it was Albrighton actually that gave it away. Justin was advanced. All of a sudden, Soyuncu got attracted to his man, and it was a gaping hole for Sarr to run into. And Chilwell tried to keep strides with Sarr, but he's a hell of an athlete, is the lad. And you fancied him, didn't you? You did fancy him. You feared the worst again, and Schmeichel to the rescue. But there's another example of Watford. Like they're picking up the pieces, aren't they? The little scraps that Leicester are offering them, rather than creating things themselves. Which they very rarely do, but they wait for a breakdown in the opposition's play and then they pounce, and they're happy to do that. Leicester need to be very, very wary.
Ewan, as a former striker yourself, when a goalkeeper comes out in the way that Kasper Schmeichel did there, how much harder does it make your decision making? Because I guess you've got to take the shot earlier than maybe you'd want to, just as I'm talking there. Troy Deeney heads just wide for Watford at the moment in this second half. Watford certainly dominating the play. But as a striker, when you throw on goal like that, what's it like when a keeper comes out like Kasper did there?
I mean, to be fair, you had two defenders who had tracked the run from Sardi. Ben Chilwell was the closest, so I think he's probably concentrating more on the two defenders rather than Schmeichel coming out as quickly as he did. I mean, sometimes it can create, if you've got too much time, it can create havoc. I mean, I was a forward who was more instinctive, more than. I was quite dangerous if I had time on my hands, Dan, to be honest with you. All sorts of things go through your mind. You change your mind with what you're going to do with it. You're going to take it early. You're going to take another touch. And that's fatal. But I just think that type of instance, where it's hard to criticise Sarr. I think we've got to give so much credit to Kasper for coming out and making himself in that star shape as he did to stop that ball from going in. I mean, that's two great saves now from Kasper keeping Leicester in the game.
Ewan, I was going to ask you, did you ever have the presence of mind when you found yourself on a rare occasion with a 1v1, slide it through the goalkeeper's legs?
Do you know what? It's not a bad place to put the ball.
No.
9 times out of 10, if you go for that area, it goes through his legs and in the back of the net.
Well, it would have worked in that instance there with Schmeichel. I think, as he came out, he spreads himself. You can't cover all angles. That's what I say, you hedge your bets. But yeah, I've always got
a split second on that, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
A split second that you've got to react.
Oh, very rarely I was in that situation. It didn't even cross my mind to try and nutmeg the keeper. Even in training, it would try and give it the eyes a bit. But yeah, I've got a lot of respect for centre forwards who've got that presence of mind to be in that situation and slide it through the keeper's legs at the risk of looking silly if you get it wrong.
There was neat play from Leicester City in the middle of the pitch there. James Maddison with a nice turn, bought himself a free kick. Ben Chilwell now coming forward on this left-hand side. He did that so early in the game, puts the ball in deep towards Mark Albrighton. It's just flicked on. Here's James Maddison again in a central position on his left foot. He shoots, but it's blocked there. And again, more positive signs, Walshy, for Leicester.
Yeah, it just seemed to just settle the ship for a couple of minutes, but there's gaps appearing and we're not defending as well as we were at the moment. Harvey Barnes just being cut out before in a position where he shouldn't really be. Got the wrong side of his man, and Deeney, far post, you don't want him challenging anybody at the far post for headers, and he was so close to a goal. But Leicester have just got to think about this and really, when they're defending, tuck in as a unit. You don't seem to be doing it quite as good as they were in that first 20-25 minutes.
You scored a lot of goals, both well, obviously all three of you. Ewan as a forward, Matty getting forward, Walshy used to play striker a lot in your career as well. That Deeney chance that he had, when you're challenging between two defenders and you can just get your head to it, presumably you can't really aim your header, you're just trying to get your head on the ball and hope it goes towards the goal, and in that case, thankfully for Leicester and Kasper Schmeichel, it went past the post.
Yeah, I think, you look at that position where Justin it was a standing jump for him. Troy was it Troy Deeney? Yeah, he's got a 2-yard run on him, and it always gives you that extra lift. So, there's another chance for Watford. But no, we've just got to be careful. They're knocking on the door of Watford, and they're being pretty dangerous now at the minute. We're just got to get closer to people and defend better.
Yeah, another chance there. I don't know whether it was Kasper that punched the ball away or it was cleared straight from his hands pretty much by Wilfred Ndidi, who was pretty much on the goal line. But more chances for Watford. The game is really opening up now. It looked for a moment like Jamie Vardy was in at one end. Now Watford are back up outside Leicester City's penalty area. So it's suddenly come alive now, this game, in the second half, thankfully. Mark Albrighton has played a neat ball down for Jamie Vardy, but he seems quite isolated, Matt, at the moment on that right-hand side.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it's to and fro in end to end. There's not a lot of sort of subtlety going on out there at the moment. But it's a gamble. It's a toss-up, isn't it? There, who's going to come out on top in that sort of phase of play. I think Leicester like to play with a little bit more control than that. Watford will be quite happy with the hurly-burly nature of that phase. But yeah, as you say, they're a decent run, but it was almost desperation. It's too much of an exaggeration, but Barnes had no choice other than to run himself past 2-3 defenders there and try and maintain possession. Ultimately gave it away. Then Albrighton knocked a lovely ball up on the second attack. Vardy was there, no one within literally 40 yards, and great player that he is, even he's going to struggle there. So Leicester just lost their direction a little bit over the last 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, get involved with the show City on the Sofa from your own sofas at home. You can do so on any of your social media accounts. These guys have got in touch. This is how they're watching the show. They feel like they're together watching the show. That's from Loopy Lou there on Twitter. So thank you very much for that one. Clark with a lovely afternoon tea look of a setup there with Leicester City in the background. And this is a half-time refreshments picture. This next one, he said he might not be at the stadium, but the refreshments are still good there. So thank you very much to Kirsty Ward for that one there. As I said, do get involved with us on social media and join our show City on the Sofa this afternoon. Another chance again for Watford, this time on the right-hand side. Ewan Ismail Assar again, starting to cause a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, we saw his pace in that first half, didn't we, against Ben Chilwell. He just beats Chilwell far too easily. And on that second instance, he just gets the ball out of his feet, and he knows that he's got the pace, he's got the beating of Ben Chilwell. It's a decent ball in. They're looking threatening in this opening stage of this second half. They really come out from that half-time break full of confidence and full of momentum of Watford. But you touched on it before, Dan. The game being opened up and getting stretched. I do think the more this game does get stretched and does open up more, I think that will suit Leicester. And, they hopefully will then be able to counter-attack quickly against Watford and punish them.
At half-time, we saw a poll that we put on our social media. You guys at home had got involved, Matt, and I think around about 60 to 65% of Leicester fans were confident of getting a victory in this second half. Do you think the opening 10 minutes or so of this second half maybe will have changed their minds somewhat, do you think?
Well, I think, if you had that poll again on the evidence so far in the second half, that percentage would decrease, I would imagine. I mean, Leicester at the moment, it's getting to that stage. I'm not saying they'd settle for a draw, but they wouldn't be too disappointed. Whereas, I thought at the start of the game, you're looking for the 3 points, but now Watford are more than holding their own, aren't they? Sarr's caused problems on a couple of occasions, Deeney also, and Leicester have treading a fine line.
Matt, do you think Watford could run out of steam here? They've put a lot of effort into this first 20 minutes, haven't they, the second half, and just hoping that maybe they do tire. But at the moment they're looking.
They're not the sort of team who go and dominate for long periods, are they?
No.
So you would imagine or hope that would be the case again today. But they've had the upper hand over the last 10 minutes. That Leicester will be just trying to sort of battle their way through that, I suppose, and then the extra craft that they're meant to possess. I would like to.
He's got a few cards up his sleeve. You've got to look at maybe changing soon. Or there you see Demore Gray coming down the stand, so that might be an option. Maybe he changes the system slightly. I don't know, but it's going to be an interesting tactical change at some point. You can see that pretty soon.
Jamie Vardy, incidentally, as well, she was talking there, has been absolutely wiped out here. I can't see which Watford player it was. It was the right back there, Fenomena, that has wiped Vardy out. It's typical Jamie Vardy, Ewan, wasn't it, there? Chasing, harrying every ball, and he just got there before the defender, and it's a free kick to Leicester.
I just hope that Femina's been given the yellow card. So that's a cynical challenge. He knows he's not going to get there.
That's nothing, Ewan. Ewan, that's nothing. Come on.
Challenging on Vardy, I don't know. Vardy was always the favourite. He's always on that front foot. That's the type of service that he thrives on. I just hope the right back's been given the yellow card for that.
I'm not sure. I don't think I've seen that it was. Walshy was shouting at you.
Ewan Roberts, you've changed. You've changed, son. That was nothing.
Shocking tackle, Walshy.
Was it? Not from me, on my screen.
That's just defenders against attackers there, I think, summed up in one little exchange. Ben Chilwell there on the left-hand side put the ball into the box again to no avail, Matty, for Leicester.
Yeah, and it's a familiar story so far this afternoon. Leicester have been in advanced positions, but not in any too many threatening ones. And fortunate there to get the foul, James Justin, you have to say, after being pressurised by Deeney, who rightly complained. But just a little bit more conviction about their play, more aggression in Watford's penalty box, really, and more purpose. Looked like you mean business in there, and it's a little bit nice.
It's a bit
so
static.
far.
The movement's not as sharp and as quick, you know, off the mark, is it?
We're interested to see on this free kick, also in the one in the first half. You know, the runs weren't that purposeful, but now do they believe they're going to get on the end of it? You know, are they going to cause a problem or you know cause a disturbance in there?
Chance for Soyuncu, very big chance for Kasper Schmeichel there at the back post. I'm not quite sure he got enough on the original header. I don't know if it's gone straight out. He might have been offside looking at that first replay. It was a terrific ball and he just didn't get enough on it. Soyuncu at the back post. His header went just wide, Iwan, but that was a big chance.
Dan, you can see by his reaction that he's ever so disappointed. It's a great ball in. He's lost Dawson, his marker. He just doesn't make good contact. Whether Dawson just does enough to put Soyuncu off from getting a clear and a powerful header on goal, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I can understand his disappointment of not making Foster work. Great ball in from Maddison. You know, that's the quality that he's got from set pieces.
Perhaps Soyuncu's blushes might have been saved, Matty. He did on that first replay we saw, looked ever so slightly offside, didn't he? Which maybe, had it gone in, VAR would have certainly had a look at it.
Yeah, it would have been frustrating. I think ultimately, the offside was more than likely going to be given. Nonetheless, the header was not what he wanted, but he was rightly frustrated. Although, in fairness to Soyuncu, he is someone who does make positive, aggressive runs. It doesn't always come off you, but you've got to keep persevering with them. And Maddison's found him in that area there, and fair play to him. At least he looks like a little bit of a threat when the ball is in that box.
Yeah, he scored away at Crystal Palace, didn't he, Walshy, from a corner, Kasper Schmeichel, early in the season.
He did, Batesy. But, again, for me, he's got to do better there. He's got to get that steered on target at least. You know, he just took his eye off the ball right at the last minute, probably blinded a little bit. You know, it wasn't an easy opportunity, I'd say, but the delivery was much better from Maddison. He's beat that, he's gone right to the far post. Keeper can't come, stranded on his line. It's an opportunity, and it's better play from Leicester.
Well, yeah, I think that's the positive that you take from it, Ewan, that these are now more positive.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. You just get the feeling that they've come through that awkward opening 5-10 minute period of this second half where Watford were on top. They were creating, they were winning the majority of those second balls. You just get the feeling the tide is turning now, and slowly but surely that Leicester are finding their way back into this second half of this game.
Yeah, it's another set piece for Leicester. This time it's a James Maddison corner, again coming from that right-hand side, so it will be an outswinger from the boot of the Leicester City number 10. We'll just stay with this now just to see. Oh, he's gone short. They've gone off the training ground, haven't they there, Matty? And unfortunately, the Watford defenders just read it.
Well, I don't mind a bit of invention and a bit of, alternative play and creativity, but it's got to be on.
I think Southampton played that. Who did they play yesterday? Southampton, Norwich. I think they played that. Then I saw them, one of them steps over it, and the other one's coming in, and they almost had a chance there. It's quite a well worked free kick.
It can be. It's not anything that's particularly new at Walsh, is it?
No,
but
of course
it's a surprise element, I suppose, as much as anything. But so many bodies in that box. To create a run with a dummy and then the space to get the shot off. By the time the ball's travelled that far, it's asking a lot. And I don't think that was the time and place to try. So such a routine really, because they caused a little bit of pressure before. Soyuncu's nearly got on the end of one. While they're a little bit hesitant, a little bit edgy, the Watford defence, put them under more pressure, deliver it in there, test them out, and they've let off the hook a little bit there.
Watford seemed, like I said before, that they seem to have had put a big effort into that first 20 minutes. They've chased everything. They look now like they're a little bit tired, and it's proving what I said is right. But we'll see, But the thing is, Albrighton, Harvey Barnes are not getting enough ball. They're not into this game, and they need to be. And the change might be one of them two coming off. I don't know whether he changes it for Harvey maybe, or maybe Albrighton.
I think that's what the change is. The first of 5 potential Leicester City substitutions this afternoon is currently taking place. It is exactly what Walshy was just saying there. Damari Gray is coming on. Harvey Barnes has just not been his afternoon at Vicarage Road today. He's the one making way for the Foxes. Ewan, and And can Demarai Gray add something a little bit different, do you think?
Bit more pace, bit more directness, maybe. You know, and you're right, it hasn't been his best afternoon, Harvey Barnes. He's worked hard. He always gives you that 100% effort, but just hasn't had that influence that he has done over the season going forward. He's had limited ball. Maybe he could have worked slightly harder to free himself of Messina, or Tamani, the right back. But it just hasn't really been his afternoon today. So I'm not surprised that he was the one to make way for Demarai Gray to come on.
We've seen a few draws already, Matt, since the return of the Premier League. Obviously, the Sheffield United is in that 5th or 6th position. Manchester United, Tottenham drawing as well last night. Do you think maybe a draw in this first game back is actually probably a good result, just as all players are getting back used to playing Premier League football?
I think Leicester will be looking for a bit more than that from the outset, but you're not going to turn your nose up at it. I think they're feeling their way back in, aren't they? Even if it's subconsciously. You don't want to start the second part of the campaign again off with a defeat, and it's Watford fighting for their lives, aren't they? And they're well disciplined. We've talked about their attributes, and Nigel Pearson has exaggerated those attributes that they do have and made the most of them, made them into a very solid outfit. I think Leicester, they haven't been at their free-flowing best, have they? But I don't think, if the game was to peter out and remain the same, put it that way, Leicester was, okay, plenty of bits to look at and work on, but we're not too disappointed. It's the first game back after, was it 2-month layoff plus. But they've still got some work to do to keep things on an even keel, never mind thinking about winning the game.
Watford just won the ball back there. Walsh, you wanted Kasper Schmeichel maybe to play the ball a little bit earlier there?
Yeah, I did want him to play it a little bit earlier, but pretty safe with what Kasper does. He doesn't make many errors at all, so but you just got to be careful of Leicester. It's an opportunity now. I think it's a good substitution. I think that it's the last thing that Watford wanted.
Here for Jamie Vardy potentially in behind on the right hand side. He's asking for support. Demarai Gray is up on the left hand side. Vardy couldn't find him there. You could see his arms were outstretched, weren't they, Matty, looking for the support. It is now here. Ben Chilwell has it just outside the box on the left-hand side. He comes wide to Demarai Gray, just inside the Watford box. He goals one just over the crossbar. A decent effort, Iwan, from Demarai Gray.
And it all comes from a counter-attacking move from Leicester. A bit of possession for Watford in their own half, and suddenly Leicester win it, play that ball down that right-hand side for Jamie Vardy, but then you've got that massive gap between Jamie. He's got to hold the ball up 5-6 seconds before Demarai Gray gets up there. But you can see what Demarai's trying to do. He's opened his body out. He's trying to bend it to the left of Foster. Makes decent contact, but just can't get that ball to dip as much as he wants to. But positive signs there from Leicester.
Yeah, he needed that support a little earlier, didn't he there, Matty? He had his arms out, didn't he, Jamie Vardy, when he was initially sent through on the right channel. He was a bit too wide to be able to drive at goal himself, so he just needed that one player a little bit closer to him.
Yeah, I suppose, it's the nature of the style of play of Leicester, in that moment of the game, they're sitting deep, but they had numbers to go and win the ball, but the gap between midfield and Vardy was, it was quite evident that it was too far. Yeah, it's okay being the lone striker and isolating and stretching oppositions, but he got there, did ever so well to get it with a nice ball into the channel, had a touch, another touch, and he's pleading with some support, and it still wasn't there. And after Gray was the only option he tried to force it across to. After him, it was another 20 yards behind Gray. I think it was Tillemans who was the next most advanced, and maybe it's a sign a little bit of fatigue kicking in. I don't think it's disjointedness, but Vardy needs players. They need to be more of a unit, and I don't know. It's not quite clicking. There's not much rhythm about Leicester's play today so far, but they're hanging in. Well, not hanging in. They're digging in there, aren't they? And at the moment, just
tell you
about
what,
worthy of the point.
I think we're going to go on and win this game now. I really do. I just think that Watford have not only tired, they're sitting so far deep now that Leicester are going to get opportunities and chances. They really are. And I really fancy us just to nick one, whether it's a late one, whether it's, you know, one of those games where it's just last kick of the game, 1-0 Vardy. I can just see it coming. I really can. I think it's a good substitution, like I said, because Watford, it's the last thing they wanted to see was someone who can run at them with pace, and they look like they're going to let him have the ball and do that, which is crazy, you know. With them sitting that deep, they're inviting pressure, and it's a dangerous game to play.
You're not missing any football, incidentally. We've just had our second drinks break of the game, the final one, you'll be pleased to hear, midway through this second half. But, Ewan, it's a chance, and you saw both Nigel Pearson for Watford and Brendan Rodgers for Leicester. It's almost a mini team talk midway through a half that managers would never normally get to make.
No, and it's warm. It looks a really hot, sunny day down in Hertfordshire. The players gives them a bit of time to get some fluid on board, and it gives the two managers an opportunity of maybe changing one or two things tactically. I think Brendan will want more urgency when Leicester have got the ball, move that ball a little bit quicker, set that tempo slightly higher for the remainder of this game. And if they can do that, I do agree with Walsh with the threat they have got going forward, and maybe one or two more options coming off the bench, then they can go on and win this game.
Ewan used the word urgency there, Matt, and we did actually see it as he was talking. That there was a quick throw in for Leicester. Mark Albrighton really went and got the ball himself, tried to get Jamie Vardy in, and but for a spectacular sort of overhead kick clearance from Messina, Vardy could have been in straight from the throw in, which was that word again, urgency and quick play.
Yeah, it was good to see, and well noticed, Daniel, because it shows intent, doesn't it, that Leicester are not just settling for this point, they want to go and get all three. I think that's the right approach, back themselves, and it's hard to disagree with what Steve said. I can see things happening Leicester way, I can see it Watford's way as well. You know, it's literally 50-50 in the balance this game, but I would think in all likelihood the chances have been at a premium. Both teams will end the game, reasonably content with a point each.
Batesy, you actually surprised me there with that, noticing that short
film.
Because that's
I don't know whether to say that as a compliment or not.
That's a footballer's brain's thought there of because I love to see that. I love to see urgency, and it certainly was.
Well, I don't know whether to say that as a compliment. That
it's a compliment, mate. It is.
Thank
it's a compliment.
Thank you. Earlier we saw you and Jamie Vardy when he was played through on that right-hand side, looking for a little bit of support earlier. Maybe he's going to see it, potentially. Kelechi Iheanacho, he is now speaking to Brendan Rodgers. They're deep in conversation, so clearly he's about to come on. We don't know whether he's going to be alongside Vardy up front, whether he's going to replace Vardy. We don't know yet, but that looks certainly like it's going to be the next change for the Foxes.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if it's to replace Jamie. I really, really would. You think of the two chances that Watford have created, only for Kasper Schmeichel to produce two great saves. If those two chances fall to Jamie Vardy, Leicester are 2-0 up. It's as simple as that. And I just don't think you take you got top goal scorer, your main threat, to bag you a goal. I don't think you take him off unless he's tired, unless I'd say it's been a warm day. I think you have to keep Jamie Vardy up there and get him some support.
Unless he's thinking now Tuesday,
maybe
keeping him fresh, and we've got a striker that could come on and with his presence should cause a few problems. I don't know, but that'd be the only chance. But like you say, I think it wouldn't be him. It's probably a Tielemans, or I don't know, a change of system, for the last quarter, I think.
One thing, Matty, that we have seen throughout this whole season is a patience from Leicester City. Going into the second half of games, I think it was during the run where they won 9 in a row, was it? The majority of those, I think 7 of the 9, they were either level or behind at half-time. Leicester have just hit the post. I think it was Mark Albrighton on the right-hand side. Fantastic effort. Terrific play from Gray originally to find Albrighton. Here's Maddison! What a save from Ben Foster. We thought Leicester there were going to take the lead. Originally, an unbelievable effort from Mark Albrighton hit the inside of the post. And now Ben Foster has just signed a new deal this week for Watford. And you can see why, because that was a terrific save. James Maddison with his left foot looked as if he's given Leicester the lead. Terrific 2 chances for Leicester there. Half chances, but they almost turned into goals, didn't they, Matty?
Well, they're putting the squeeze on a little bit now, aren't they? Just as Walshy said. A fair play to them. Watford seem to be flagging a little bit, and little spaces are opening up for Leicester. And what a strike that was from Albrighton, wasn't it? You know, difficult from that angle, coming across him, first time effort.
Madison again with his left foot, terrific little build.
Tell you what, Matty, Foster's save there was as good as Schmeichel's in the first half, if not slightly better. You know, I thought that was in all the way, and
especially reacting after being beaten with the one at the near post, didn't feel sorry for himself. You know, got up, got across his goal, and set himself. Nice play by Damari Gray, having an impact there on a couple of occasions. I think, and lovely touch.
A lot of keepers would not save that.
No, it's difficult, isn't it, down low like that. And, you know, all of a sudden. The Foxes fans are agreeing with you, Walshy, there, aren't they? They're thinking, hang on, Leicester looking likely to go and win this now.
Oh, they have not seen that.
Hamza Chowdhury's come on for Leicester. Yuri Tielemans is the man that's come off for the Foxes. So we're still waiting to see Kelechi Iheanacho. He was deep in conversation a little bit of a while ago with Brendan Rodgers, but it is Hamza Chowdhury for Yuri Tielemans, the latest change for Leicester. But it was Damari Gray who was instrumental, Ewan, in both those chances.
Yeah.
Firstly laying it across for Albrighton, and then
especially the first one, Dan. He's done ever so well. You know, very unselfish. He could have maybe had a shot himself, but he's seen Albrighton, you know, all by himself on that right hand side. The weight of the pass is perfect, which means that Albrighton can come on and hit that ball first time. It's a magnificent strike. You know, Ben Foster, as good as goalkeeper he is, he doesn't even see it. And we're all just waiting to see the net bulge, sadly, in off the post and across the goal line. But then they pick up the pieces. Once again, it's Damari Gray, who's done great since he's come on, feeds James Maddison. And it's a good save this time by Ben Foster. But you know, I think that was the best passage of play we've had in the second half from Leicester.
Nigel Pearson has made a triple substitution for Watford. Maybe not as surprising, given the fact he can do 5 substitutes at the moment than what it may normally be during a game. But yes, a triple sub there for Watford. Matt, you know, when teams make 3 changes in one go, does that disrupt rhythm? Maybe potentially something that Leicester can get at the Watford
players?
I
think their rhythm has been disrupted by the introduction of Damari Gray. You know, he has had an impact, losing possession there, right on cue. But yeah, he's brought a little bit of a spark to proceedings, hasn't he? And Watford, understandably, looking to react. Nigel Pearson making the decision probably slightly later than most people would have thought, to bring on a trio of substitutes. But yeah, you get the feeling, as Walshy mentioned earlier, that Watford are starting to flag a little bit now. The way the last 5 minutes have gone, that they'll be more than content to come away with a point, albeit they're at home, and Leicester looking to pile on the pressure and pinch a late winner, which I suppose it's questionable whether they deserve it in their performance overall. But all of a sudden they're starting to pop the ball around a little bit, although they are going sideways at this moment in time. But again, you know, pass in this instant is so difficult to break down. Could Leicester have been more penetrative earlier, or Watford that good at getting back into shape? Here it's going to break down and restart again. So very rarely do you see goals when defenders are 11 men behind the ball and they're set up and in place. But Leicester looking better, more suited to playing on the counter, almost suck Watford onto them, try and draw them out, which they're very unlikely to do at this late stage of the game.
I guess the encouraging thing at the moment, Ewan, is the fact that now Leicester are seeing pretty much all of the ball. Exclusively, the game is now being played in that Watford half. I wonder if Nigel Pearson and Watford are going to take this moment to think a point in the first game back is a good point. They're going to almost try and take what they've got. So this is where Leicester now will look to try and get that late winner, get that elusive late winner.
Absolutely. You know, in the last 10, 15 minutes, you've just seen Watford drop deeper and deeper and deeper as a team and invite Leicester to have that possession and to go and attack them. I think the big thing is Leicester's back four, they're playing higher up the pitch, they're playing closer to the midfield, which means the midfield have now pushed on, they're getting closer support to Jamie Vardy. Damari Gray, he's not just staying on the touchline, he's coming into midfield and looking for the ball, he's causing problems. You know, they're all really good positive signs, and it's a really good finish to the game for Leicester.
How encouraged do you think Brendan Rodgers will be, Matt, by the fact that they are now seeing all of the ball and pretty much all of the ball in that Watford half? Obviously, they'll be aware of the threat that that Watford could pose on the counter with that pace, but Brendan Rodgers surely will be a happy man with the way this remaining few minutes of the game seems to be taking place.
Yeah, and I think that's something you've seen in quite a few games through the course of the season. He's got very athletic, a very physically fit.
Yellow that, sorry Matt. Should be.
The yellow should have been.
Does he give it yellow?
It over. Yeah, it's late, and it studs up, and never not too much contact, but he's never getting anywhere near the ball. It was needless, wasn't it? But they're a fit, athletic side, aren't they? I mean, we talk about the youth within the squad, but proper athletes throughout, really, and none more so than Jamie Vardy, who's one of the elder statesmen. But and also they do tire teams out with the way they play, constantly having superior possession. And as a result of that, the opposition have got to chase and harass and be disciplined, like Watford have been today. But it's hard work, and towards the end of the game, not surprised to see them flagging a touch and Leicester being on top. But can they carve out that crucial opening?
I think Nigel, sorry to interrupt, Dan, but Nigel Pearson forced into them three substitutions. The one thing, as a defender, like I said, you're looking at Demarai Gray getting the freedom. I bet he said to someone, get tight with him now because he's causing us problems. You've got to do that, and for the last 5 minutes they've kept him quiet, but it's worrying times for Watford at the moment. Like I said, they look like they're on the last legs, but anything can happen in this game. It's one of those. It might be a silly mistake that happens, or a class finish from somewhere. Hopefully from a Maddison or a Vardy. We'll see.
Yeah, corner there for Leicester City caused slight issues in that Watford defence, but Ben Foster came out and caught it and did well, Ewan, didn't he? And he, I guess, like Kasper Schmeichel throughout this game as well, has showed his experience as a Premier League goalkeeper this afternoon.
Yeah, he's a good goalkeeper. I think he's just signed a new contract with Watford, but that's bread and butter for him. It wasn't really a goal threat. He comes out. It's a nice early shout, which is what you always want from your goalkeeper. It just takes the pressure off that defensive side. And it's a comfortable catch for him in the end.
The substitution now has been made that was in the offing for the last 5 or 10 minutes or so. Kelechi Iheanacho has come on now for the Foxes. Mark Albrighton, who is conveniently on that right-hand side of the touchline, is the man that's been subbed off. Matt, and do you see Iheanacho going up front alongside Jamie Vardy? Will he peel out again on this right-hand side?
Oh, just waiting to have a little look here. I mean, Chowdhury is on the pitch as well, alongside Ndidi, so they've got that defensive midfield platform there to try and secure themselves. But I would imagine Iheanacho, he would go certainly closer to Vardy than Albrighton was. Although, excuse me, initially he's out there on that right flank, but I think just naturally he'll drift inside and try and pose more of a central threat.
Just under 10 minutes to go at Vicarage Road. A reminder, if you want to hear every single second of it, you can do on LCFC Radio. James Fielden and Jerry Taggart will take you through the remaining minutes of the game down there. But there's 10 minutes left here on City on the Sofa. As I said, get involved as you have been doing throughout the show using our social media channels. Let's hope the Foxes can go and get that goal and get that winner, Ewan, that surely if there is going to be a goal now, it will be a winner.
Absolutely, Dan. You get the feeling now that Watford have given it their all. They've thrown all they can at Leicester. They haven't scored, and it's as if they're quite happy to settle for the point. Brendan's been brave with his substitutions. They've been positive, attacking substitutions. He's still trying to win the game.
2 ex-Leicester City managers there on the shot. Craig Shakespeare, Nigel Pearson as well, looking on from the Watford dugout, potentially at their team, obviously precarious position towards the bottom of the Premier League. They'll be desperate for 3 points, of course, as well in their battle. Nigel Pearson said in the build-up to the game it's vital that they stay in the Premier League, so important last 10 minutes for both teams at the opposite ends of the table. And a chance here, Walshy, for Watford actually.
Yeah, it's a silly free kick. I've said that. We can't afford to give these, especially at this time in the game, this late in the game, especially in this position now. We've just got to see this out, and but we've looked comfortable as a unit, as a back four in the second half. Johnny Evans, Soyuncu have not had a lot to do, but they've got their work cut out here. They've got to Mark Deeney.
Yes, Will Hughes.
He's the danger for me.
Who's caused trouble with his set pieces in this game so far. It's a left-footed delivery towards the back post. Soyuncu, though, rises high, and there's a missed kick from Watford, and it's Soyuncu again, the man that's there to clear it away. Twice there, Soyuncu, the right place at the right time. Originally, though, the header, Matt, was a lot better than the second clearance that he made anyway.
Yeah, decent positioning. From Watford's point of view, the line of the delivery wasn't where it was intended to go. I don't think Hughes trying to get it more towards that far post where they could just get a little flick and be a threat in there. But yeah, good, solid, aggressive, stout defending from Soyuncu, and that's not the first time you've heard that this season. But yeah, as Walshy says, Leicester have looked solid enough, bar one or two scares where they lost possession too easily and got caught a bit open. But yeah, generally, it's a steady enough performance. If you want to be overcritical, there hasn't been enough quality, that being a good example there, when it's mattered. Nice little switch pass, decent sort of positions without being a major threat. And that edge hasn't been there to their game, has it, without a doubt. But early days in the comeback, isn't it? You can take consolation from that. But it'll have mixed emotions with Brendan Rodgers, I think. But certainly publicly, he'll be content enough if the game stays as it is. He's quite pragmatic, isn't he? Quite practical about it. He doesn't get too aerated too easily. And all things considered, after that long break, this has been the first game back.
Yeah, we talked about that rustiness, didn't we, Ewan, in the first half? And case in point, really, Ben Chilwell, that cross. Here's a chance, though. Kelechi Iheanacho driving forward, plays it to Maddison on this left. He's got Chilwell arriving with a cross. There it is, towards the back post. It's a good clearance, though. Again, the Watford defence remains stoic there. It was a decent opportunity for the Foxes. A dink ball in from Ben Chilwell, wasn't it, Walshy? But
it was better. It was definitely better. He's put it into the right area there. Maybe he could have, got it across the front of them. But sometimes now that a lot of players use that pull back, it's a decent ball in the right area. You've just got to get people, getting into that on that second ball. You've got to get in on it. The body's just left his run a little bit late, stayed far, and it's run away from him. But Watford, they're on the ropes at the moment. They'll be happy to see that final whistle. I think Leicester, it'll be a little bit kind of, if they do just get the point, then they'll be a bit annoyed with it, which is a good thing. I think they've been the better team overall, but it's not finished yet. And who knows, is there going to be a twist right at the end?
Yeah, good chance there for Chilwell to get the ball in, but in the end, Vardy was lurking, wasn't he, Ewan? But Dawson there showed all the experience that he's got in the Premier League to clear that one.
He did. He's been about. He's got loads of experience. But what pleased me about that quick counter-attacking move from Leicester is the amount of bodies they committed forward. When Chilwell finally puts that ball into that box, you've got 4 or 5 blue shirts waiting for that cross to come in. And that's a sign for me, a team that wants to go on and win this game in these final minutes.
Terrific turn on the halfway line from Iheanacho, tried to release Ben Chilwell on this left-hand side. I think it's a throw to Watford. It looked like it was a throw to Watford.
It's a free kick, yeah.
The rest given the free kick, so a chance. It's only just inside the Watford half. A chance potentially to play it long. I think Chowdhury will go short with it here on the halfway line. Indeed he does. To Ndidi, back again to Chowdhury just inside the Watford half, and they'll look to build again, Matt.
Yeah, it was. I didn't see the too much contact. It was a good attempt at the turn from Iheanacho, though. Ben Chilwell, unfortunately, getting a ricochet going out for a throw-in, but referee gave the set piece to Leicester. A little bit of a scare there, but Watford attacker just stumbled on the ball, and here comes Johnny Evans trying to make an impact.
Gray switches out Chilwell and a lot of space in the left-hand side. Shoots, what a goal! Ben Chilwell has scored an unbelievable goal. The Leicester City left-back, we criticised him a minute ago for a poor cross, but that was an unbelievable strike. Walshy, talk us through that. Leicester City.
I don't know how to do it. I'm in a bit of shock at the minute, Batesy. What a finish. But the initial ball out, was it who sent that? Damari Gray. What a pass from to switch play. Massive gap at the back for Watford. It's out of his feet, one touch, boom, bang, right in the top corner. What a finish.
Well, surely Leicester City have won this game. The first game back in the Premier League fantastic strike from Ben Chilwell off the post, Ewan. Unbelievable strike.
Goal of the season, is it not, lads? Come on.
That's two great touches. I mean, his first touch to control the ball is outstanding. His second one's even better. And Matty, you touched on it with Johnny Evans for the first time in the game, really, just coming out of that back ball with the ball, carrying it forward, didn't get closed down. And I think it's just intelligent play from Damari Gray, going from left to that right-hand side, leaving that space for Ben Chilwell to go into. But what a magnificent strike, boys. He will not strike one better.
Matty, you've had a few minutes to be quiet there and reflect and see the replays.
I am like Walshy. I mean, I'm such a shock going on. I mean, I don't think Ben can believe it himself there. Fair play to him. Just moments before, he's shown great desire and athleticism to get himself into that position in the latter stages of the game. Dinked in a decent cross, got cleared. Okay, I haven't seen enough purpose from him since the early stages of the game, when he looked a threat and he sort of ducked in and out of the game. But he's got that engine, and he's gone up there and created havoc a few minutes prior, and then again there, and what havoc he caused. I mean, that is a strike from the heavens.
I think he's actually had overall a very good game. You know, he's been caught out a couple of times defensively. You know, Sard has got past him twice, I think it is, which he'll be a bit annoyed about. But he's stayed in, and he's you know, I just think for a young lad, he's had a bit of stick over the last, you know, when he was before the lockdown. You know,
chance for Watford. Hold on at the other end with Decore in there. I think they just managed to clear it, Leicester City. That was half a chance for Watford. It's still bouncing around everywhere. Gray tries to clear it. Evans jumps up to head it forward. It's still pinball in that Leicester City box. Shabalala on it now for Watford. He's been pushed wide, and again he crosses it in. Indeed, he clears it. How important now is it, Ewan, that Leicester remain firm? Because it's completely going to go the other way, isn't it? Leicester had all the possession, all the play.
I think they've got the tools on the pitch now to cope with this last bombardment that Watford are going to throw at them. They're going to throw everything long and high into the box. They've got Ndidi, who's got a good presence. Chowdhury, you know, he's 6 foot plus. So they've got enough players in that box to cope.
Long throw from Holebas in again. Indeed, he heads it away this time. It will be a Watford corner, but originally a good header there for Wilfred Ndidi. We didn't quite see how long was left, actually, Matt, in terms of added on time, but there was 5 minutes added on. We've just heard now we've played 2, so there's 3 minutes for Leicester City to hold on in added time here. It is a corner, though, for the hosts, Watford. They're piling pretty much everyone bar the goalkeeper forward here. Here comes the corner now. Vardy's got the clear. It's a big chance, and it's a goal. Watford have scored so late on. It's an overhead kick from Dawson, of all people there. Kasper Schmeichel got a hand to it onto the post, but it's gone in. And Watford have equalised. Well, we thought Leicester had won it so late on through Ben Chilwell, but Watford here now equalising. It's all happened in these last few minutes, Matty.
Unbelievable, isn't it, football? It never ceases to amaze, does it? It looked for all the world like it was going to peter out to be a 0-0 draw. Chances at a premium. Leicester go and score a goal from out of this world, and you think that's got to be signed, sealed and delivered, the 3 points. Leicester players look into the skies there, can't believe it. Schmeichel gets a decent touch, can't apportion any blame there, but they put it in there. The header from the throw, wasn't it? Was it Ndidi, I think? You know, he's got himself on the end of it, but did he need to head it out for a corner? He got it a little bit wrong, didn't he? And as a result of that, Watford scramble their way back onto level terms. But football's unbelievable, isn't it? You know, you huff and puff for 90 plus minutes near enough, and without looking a threat too often. There you go, 2 goals in a matter of minutes, and the stuffing's been taken out of Leicester, isn't it? But Chilwell marauding forward again, as he has done semi-regularly in the last few minutes. But he's been a feature, Dawson. Well done to him, you know, in both penalty areas, hasn't he? Yeah, he's been a bit of an influence, and he'll say he got his just reward. But the header from Vardy,
he just hit his feet. Is it Pereira, 27? 37 was he?
Yeah,
he's just hit his foot and gone. It's a poxy goal.
Well,
sorry, I'm getting all wound up. I'm getting all wound up. I'm absolutely gutted. Absolutely gutted.
Talk about terrific individual strike. Firstly from Ben Chilwell, but then from Dawson, Ewan, to come forward and do that acrobatic attempt. It was almost an overhead kick, scissor, side
He
volley.
don't score many goals, and I bet he won't score many better than that one. I mean, it's a magnificent finish, but I totally agree. It's a spongy goal, isn't it? There's a couple of ricochets. I think the ball comes off Kabasele straight into Dawson's path. And you know what?
Look at this.
He nearly produced a miracle again, Kasper. He got that right hand to it, but there was so much power on the shot, he just couldn't keep it out.
Leicester will look to come forward, maybe for one last time. Good ball from Ben Chilwell. Here's Chowdhury now. He looked to try and get Gray away, but he couldn't, and it's gone out for a throw. There can't be long left here at Vicarage Road, I'm afraid. It looked for all the world like Leicester had won it so late on through that brilliant strike from Ben Chilwell, but Dawson equalised even later than that. We'll see out these final couple of minutes, final couple of seconds. I believe that's the full-time whistle. It is. Nigel Pearson and Brendan Rodgers sharing a smile and a laugh together there at full-time. I guess, Matt, really, they're both just looking at each other. In the same way you just said there, that's football. It's difficult sometimes to put football into words. 0-0 going into the 89th minute. Ben Chilwell scores an absolute wonder goal to give Leicester what surely looked like all 3 points before Watford, even later on in the 93rd minute, through an overhead kick, have equalised late on. And almost in a way, Matt, it feels a little bit like a defeat, doesn't it, for Leicester at the moment?
Well, they'll be hugely disappointed initially, like immediately after the final whistle now, because they know they had the win within their grasp. And you know, what a way it would have been to win that game with a goal of such high order. But on reflection, they won't be too disappointed. You know, there's always things to look at, things you could have done better, ifs, buts, maybes, but those goals sort of encapsulate the teams that were out there on the field of play today in an exaggerated sense. You know, Leicester quite slick, easy on the eye, moved the ball around well, not with enough penetration, but all of a sudden they got that directness, didn't they, with the strike from Chilwell, which is something I think he should try a little bit more, not in necessarily shooting, but more venom in his final delivery, whether it's a shot or a cross or a pass. You know, whip those balls in, be more aggressive in his nature in those attacking areas, and he certainly was there today, wasn't he? And what a way to win a game of football that would have been. But then Watford are dogged, they're rugged, scruffy a bit at times, aren't they? As was the goal. But it's about effectiveness at the end of the day. And if I'm honest, I think all things considered, how each team approaches their individual games of football, I'm looking at that. I think it's just about a fair result, to be honest.
Yeah, it's finished at Vicarage Road. Watford 1, Leicester City 1. We'll take a very short break, and in a couple of minutes we'll have all the analysis from that draw now at Vicarage Road.
We are an instinct that ignites action. We are a journey, taking one step more. And we are the heart that beats as one. We are proud to be more. De Montfort University, Leicester.
Well, welcome back to City on the Sofa here on LCFC TV after Leicester's first Premier League game back. Unfortunately, it ended in a draw. Lewis Meadows, as you can see at the bottom of your screen now, I think summed it up. He said there's nothing more Leicester than scoring in the 90th minute and then conceding straight after to draw 1-1. Gavin Hugel as well on Twitter, he's got involved. He says, well, that was dramatic. And it certainly was, Ewan, wasn't it? How do you sum that up?
I agree with Matty. I thought it probably, at the end of the day, it was a fair result. It can be a cruel game at times. You know, when you've scored an absolute magnificent goal, as Ben did, in the 90th minute, you think, right, just see the next 4 or 5 out. Nothing silly. Don't be too adventurous. Concede a corner that maybe could have been avoided. You know, we'll have to see. That might be a bit unkind on Ndidi. He was under pressure. But, you know, a big element of luck for the Watford goal. You know, a couple of ricochets, all credit to Dawson, the way he finishes it. I have to say, in the last 20 minutes, I thought Leicester were by far the fitter and stronger side, and that's why they dominated those last 20 minutes of the game. And if you look at the chances that Watford had, 2 great chances for them, they did come from mistakes from Leicester. It's not as if Leicester were opened out with really good imaginative play from Watford. So all in all, although there'll be an element of disappointment in that dressing room, I'm sure, because of the nature of the goal they conceded in the 94th, 95th minute, I think Brendan will reflect, and I think he'll be quite positive with the point that Leicester have taken, because it means, 8 points in front of Manchester United in 5th now?
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly keep getting your comments in on social media as well. Get involved using hashtag LCFC. Paul Johnson there says, shame, just couldn't hang on. Good start, though, onwards and upwards. Now, Walsh, I'll come to you. You were pretty much inconsolable when that goal went in, weren't you, of Watford's? You've had a little bit more time now to have a think about it, to let it sink in. And I think it's important what we just saw from that fan there, that, yes, it's tough to take, but it's a good start, I guess, in the end, and it is onwards and upwards from here.
Do you know what, Bass? Yeah, I still feel sick to the core, I can tell you. You know, it's just took the wind out of me, really. It really has, because I think it was just a last-ditch scrambled effort that, in the end, Dawson's got a great finish, but it was just one of them goals that you look at and you can't start pointing fingers to anybody. You look at the smiles on the Watford faces, all of them, Nigel Pearson, one of them, and dejection in the Leicester faces tells you that obviously they're absolutely gutted, and so am I. You know, I think everybody is. But when you look at this as a whole, I go again. I'm not going against the lads, but I think we just shaded that. I think that second half performance, certainly, we dominated that second half, and there was only going to be one winner in that game, and it was Leicester. But unfortunately, you know, we've conceded late on. You know, it was great to see Nigel Pearson in the tunnel with all the old lads. You know, Big Wes and players that he's been with for some fantastic years at this club. He's a great bloke, is Nigel Pearson. So, you know, I think it's a life-saving point for him at the minute. And fair play to Leicester. It's another point, like Ewan says, you know, that 5th place is still 7-8 points away from us. So we've got a cushion. I think we've just got to, you know, which Brendan he'll lift them for Tuesday night, because Tuesday night now becomes the big one. You go and get 3 points there, and I always say an away point is a good point, whatever the score, however you play. For me, you got to win your home games, and we'll see what happens Tuesday.
Well, let's take a look then at the full-time stats there. The important one obviously being Watford 1, Leicester City 1. Leicester did, though, when you look at the stats, Matt, they did dominate that game of football.
Yeah, they did, and I think, you know, on the face of that, when you look at those stats, that you would say that Leicester's probably disgruntled that they didn't get the 3 points, especially scoring so late on. But in the day, not too much damage has been done over the course of this opening round of games for teams that directly concern Leicester, i.e. Sheffield United drawing, Man United drawing, Tottenham kept out of the equation. We have to see how the other results go, but it's almost as you were, but if anything, Leicester's slightly better off because it's another game ticked off. And the immediate threats, you would imagine, for that Champions League spot are Man United and Sheffield United, and they've kept that distance between it. So, you know, all she mentions about looking at the picture overall, I'm sure Brendan Rodgers will do the same. All things considered, not too bad a start. There's a little bit of rustiness, missing certain components of their game that they've had when they're at their free-flowing best. But ultimately, I just thought Watford hang in there and preyed on the odd error by Leicester and scrapped and battled away for, to make a challenge out of that game. Leicester, the classier outfit, more often than not, probably would go and win that game. If they played it in 3 games' time, Leicester would fancy them strongly. But it's not such a bad point at all, even though, like I say, you're hoping that they're going to carry on that form that they showed against Aston Villa, because they seem to have picked it up again, got the 4 goals, got the big result. But it's been a hell of a gap in between, a hell of a lot has happened. And I thought all round, it was reasonably satisfactory.
First game back, you've got to give them some credit there.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there was some wonderful football at times, a lot to learn from. But, first game back, fitness, everything, the whole, with the atmosphere, I just think it was a brave effort and really nearly punished Watford and would have, deserved that. And although we're disappointed, there's a lot of pluses to come out of that game.
Ewan, what do you think Brendan Rodgers will be saying in that dressing room? Will he be echoing the same sentiments that you guys are here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Brendan, he'll look at the positives more than the negatives. And I think every manager does. They look at statistics. I know statistics can be misleading at times, but looking at that game today, I don't think those are. We knew Leicester were going to go there and dominate in possession. I think the one stat that he will be slightly disappointed with, 16 shots on the Watford goal, just 2 on target. I think you'll be disappointed with that. You'll be disappointed with maybe the lack of what Ben Foster had to do. But overall, it's been a really good workout. They'll be in a much better place with those 90 minutes under their belts, and you'll be delighted with Damari Gray's introduction and his performance when he came on.
Yeah, attention, Matty, now turns to that game with Brighton on Tuesday evening at King Power Stadium. We'll have the exact same setup again for City on the sofa, so do make sure you tune in again for that one. What kind of mood now do you think that the players will be going into that game in, Matt?
Well, I don't think they'll be disheartened by conceding late on today. They'll be frustrated. I think they'll channel that frustration into ensuring that they get the job done properly against Brighton on Tuesday. Brighton, like Watford, fighting for their lives. They're in a precarious position, and they're going to be obstinate opponents, aren't they? You would imagine they're similar to Watford in terms of their doggedness. Probably don't have the physicality that Watford possess, but they're pretty well organised. They try and play a little bit of football as well, which I think will suit Leicester. And I fancy Leicester strongly at home come Tuesday night. Get rested up, get themselves prepared, which I'm sure they will do, and come out all guns blazing. And all of a sudden, if they can pick up 3 points at home, as Walsh says, which is vital, breeds confidence, but it also sends out a message, doesn't it, to the teams beneath that Leicester are not going to waver. Big performance, a big game on Tuesday.
I think if they play anything like that, they'll win on Tuesday. I really do. I think it was a good enough performance to take heart from, and players like Kasper will be disappointed with because of clean sheets, and keepers take things personal. He's got a lot of pride, but still, what they've got to look at is that second half and the positives that come with that. So take that into the game, start well at home, and we'll certainly be. We're tough to beat. We're a hard team now. You look at that possession, 68% possession. They pass it and keep the ball. It's hard to get the ball back off a Leicester team now. And it's certainly, you know, like we said earlier, every player is technically gifted enough to keep the ball, be comfortable, bring it down, pass, play. It's hard to get the ball back off a Leicester team now.
Walsh, when that goal went in as well, you shouted, I think over from there, you shouted goal of the season for Leicester.
Goal of the season
so
for me. Immediately I thought that. You know, I think if we'd have won, it probably could have been. It'd probably be eclipsed by Harvey Barnes that we were talking about at Sheffield United now. But you know, because that was a winner, wasn't it? I think, was that a winner?
It was.
Harvey.
United,
so
yeah.
The difference was, if that was a winner, then for me that was goal of the season. I think it was. You know, it could have been that important as well, because you know, winning today away at Watford, 3 points, really sends a big message to the others. But now it just leaves a little door open. It's just a jar for everybody else.
Well, we'll talk about that Ben Chilwell strike, the Harvey Barnes one, potentially compare which one was better in just a moment's time. But we can get some reaction from the press box at Vicarage Road.
Football is back and Leicester City have resumed their Premier League season with a point. They probably would have taken a point before the game commenced at Vicarage Road after the circumstances of the 3-month gap in the season, the uncertainty about player fitness and certainly the whole situation with no fans in the ground, going away to a Watford side managed by Nigel Pearson, so familiar to many. But in the end, they're just a point. In the circumstances, the fact that Ben Chilwell scored in the 90th minute, they should have been able to see the game out. But unfortunately, Dawson has come up with an unbelievable volley for the equaliser with a couple of minutes of added time left. It's a shame, really. Leicester, first 20 minutes looked great. They knocked the ball around confidently, looked the better side, looked sharp. They looked like there was not too much rustiness after the layoff. After the first drinks break, Watford came back into it, and Leicester were much more thankful for Kasper Schmeichel's couple of good saves either side at half-time. But late on, I thought it was Leicester that looked like the side that were going to go on and win it. Michael Brighton hitting the woodwork, and a great save from Foster to deny Maddison. Not a lot for Jamie Vardy, searching for his 100th Premier League goal to feed on today. He had a couple of half chances, you would say, but a good block at the near post and then a strike that went wide, but wasn't to be his day. His day will surely come, probably on Tuesday against Brighton. But overall, a point. You take that, I suppose, at the start of the day, but it's a shame Leicester couldn't hang on in those final few minutes for a much-needed victory as they chase the Champions League.
Thanks to athletic journalist there, Rob Tanner, who's quite obviously not in the press box at Vicarage Road. It's the new norm, though, that is his press box from home, I'm sure, there, Rob Tanner. Matt, did you agree with what he was saying there about Leicester there? Obviously, had mixed emotions for them, but he talked, as we have done, about that opening 20 minutes, how bright they looked. It did tail off slightly, looked as if they'd got that late winner, but mixed emotions, I think, is a good way to sum up this afternoon, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think Leicester can take consolation from certain aspects of the game within the periods. Rob mentioned them there. That they started the game well, they ended the game well. In between was pretty tight. If anything, Watford had the upper hand. So they're quite a tough proposition, though, Watford, at home, with or without a crowd. And it's no mean feat going there and getting any sort of result. It would have been lovely, wouldn't it, to have walked away with the 3 points in your back pocket, with a goal of that calibre, winning it in the last minute. What a feeling, what a buzz for the players, jumping back on the coach, I think it is. They're travelling in coaches these days, I think. But, it wasn't to be. But they'll look at it and assess it in generalisation. And it was a decent performance. But they're the higher quality team out of the two on show today. On occasion, they showed that, not to the full extent that they're capable of, but they'll know that there's more to come. It's not going to click. And Leicester are a team that play rhythmically, really. They do play fluently when they're at their best, but sometimes it takes a little while to get into that groove. And they've shown that they can do that earlier in the season. I'm sure they recaptured that level of form. But all round, I thought it was a 6.5, 7 out of 10 performance, wasn't it? Not too bad at all.
Well, let's see what that draw has done to the latest Premier League table then. We see Leicester City obviously still in third place, 6 points clear of Chelsea in fourth, but more importantly, 8 points now clear of Manchester United in fifth. So no points either gained or lost at any point, Iwan, with that result today.
Exactly. You know, maybe the pressure was off Leicester slightly, having seen what had happened last night between Spurs and Manchester United. And I think Matty's absolutely spot on. You're not going to go to Watford and they're going to roll over and have their bellies tickle. That's not how Nigel Pearson's team play. You know, before today, they'd only lost one of their previous 7 home games. You know, they'd won 4 of those 7. They'd conceded 4 goals in those 7 home games, 3 of which came against Everton. So it's never going to be a case of Leicester just turning up and turning Watford over. That wasn't going to happen. And I think you spoke about that being patient. And you have to be in football. You're not going to win the game in the first 5 minutes. You might have to do what Leicester did and take it to the latter stages and score a magnificent goal as Ben Chilwell did. Just sadly, you know, Watford got lucky with their second goal, as good a strike as Dawson was. So all in all, I think it's a really positive point that Leicester leave Vicarage Road with. But it's a point that now they have to face a Brighton team on Tuesday. They'll be more rested. They've got more time than Brighton have to get prepared. And Brighton are in free fall. And they're under so much pressure. They've won only one of their last 13 Premier League games. So it's a game that Leicester have to be winning.
Right, let's get Jerry Taggart's reaction now. He was a summariser for LCFC Radio this afternoon, and I can tell you he actually is at Vicarage Road.
Jerry Taggart.
Hi, Jerry Taggart here. Represent the match day live for Leicester City here at Watford in the 1-1 draw. Trying to analyse the game, pretty difficult under the circumstances. You know, both teams had their chances to win the game, but in the end it all basically boiled down to the last 5 minutes. Leicester City taking the lead with an absolute wonder strike from Ben Chilwell. Watford equalising through a corner. Craig Dawson will equaliser, and probably on reflection a fair result. As I said, not exactly what we were expecting from Leicester, but it's the first game back. It's a bit of a strange atmosphere watching a Premier League game with no fans in it, has to be said. So you've got to say both teams probably deserve the point.
Thanks to Jerry Taggart there at Vicarage Road. Looks like he's already on his way home, doesn't he there, Jerry Taggart? Giving his thoughts. Matt Elliott on the game, he said a difficult one to analyse. I think we've struggled a little bit, particularly with how it ended in a way, because suddenly everything happened in that last 5 minutes and gathering emotions and thoughts was quite a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, and you have to look at the whole scenario, don't you? Because it's easy to get swayed here. Leicester got the late goal, won the goal that it was, and all of a sudden your train of thought is, well, you know what, Leicester probably deserved it anyway. And then Watford go and score, and you go, well, yeah, fair play to Watford. But when you look at the overall picture, you know, Jerry's sort of in agreement with what I said or touched on. I thought it was a fairish result. I thought of the two teams, Leicester have got the more culture, the more quality. But different attributes, you know, go towards churning out results in games of football, and Watford displayed quite a few of those today as well. So, yeah, it was a bit of a strange game. It's still, I know it's boring already to mention about the lack of crowd and the effect that has on the atmosphere, etc. And as a spectator watching it as well. Yeah, it's a strange scenario for the players. I don't know, they must feel a little bit weird themselves, and maybe that's a contributory factor to why Leicester weren't at their fluent best. It's the first game back, etc., etc. Not making excuses at all. I think, you know, it was a perfectly capable and decent performance, all things considered. Picked up a point, no harm done. Move on to Tuesday. Make sure you get yourselves properly prepared. Take the game to Brighton. Go and show them what you mean business at the King Power at home. Pick up 3 points, and Leicester back on their merry way, aren't they?
Yeah, hopefully so. Let's go back to what we were talking to Walshy. with about earlier, Matt, and the potential for goal of the season so far, that Ben Chilwell, unbelievable strike. Does it top Harvey Barnes at Bramall Lane for you? Matt?
Oh, me, sorry, is he gone again? I'm sure you said Ewan. Me, poor...
It's a tough one, Matty. It's a tough one.
It is a tough one, isn't it? I mean, Harvey's like that. He's struck that so cleanly, hasn't he? But I don't know. Like Ben's, that's so difficult to hit a ball like that on the run, on the move, on the angle, yeah, like that. And he's arrowed in, hasn't it? He hasn't. It's not like it's bobbled up nicely for him, and he's volleyed it, and it's dipped, swerved, and bent past the goalkeeper. He's hit that as true as you can on the run, and fair play to Ben for backing himself, because I don't think he does that enough. I'd like to see more, as I said, more anger in his crosses or in his shooting, or more potency. And there, I was expecting him to do the obvious thing, or the safe thing, but he's pulled one out of the hat there, and he's just gone for it, unleashed it, and look at the reward he's got. Perhaps we'll see him do that a bit more often if he's capable of that. But I'm going to give it Ben. I'll give it Ben out of the two.
Ewan, what do you think? I suppose there's a little bit more of a team element to that goal from Ben Chilwell. It was a slick counter-attack, good play from Damari Gray, whereas the Harvey Barnes one, as individually brilliant as it was just a cross that was cleared away to him. So you could potentially argue at that point as well.
Do you know what? It's nearly impossible to choose which one's best. I mean, Harvey's was all about raw power, didn't take a touch, just came onto it. Great technique. It hit the back of the net before Henderson could even react to it. I mean, Ben's today, there's no backlift whatsoever. He's had a lovely touch and it's not an easy ball to bring down, Dan. It's come 40 yards. He's watched it all the way to his left foot. Lovely first touch, and he can see the defender coming in cross, so he's got to take it quite quickly. And as I say, just no backlift whatsoever, and it's like a rocket into that top left-hand corner. Both magnificent goals. I tell you what, Harvey can have the trophy for 6 months of the year, and then they can give it to Ben for the second.
I'm glad you've kind of agreed with me, lads, for a change, because I thought we deserved to win that game. You've all sat on the fence and said it was a fair result, so I think we shaded that and we deserved to win it. So I'm still feeling sick, but no.
I think, Chief, you say that right. If it wasn't for Kasper, Leicester could have been 2-0 down.
Yeah, but I think that second half for me.
We'll come back to that point, Walsh, because we've got James Maddison and reaction from pitchside at Vicarage Road.
Disappointed. Yeah, we dominated the game, and obviously the first one back's always going to be strange, a bit ropey, a bit cagey in the first 10 minutes, but I think over the 90 minutes we were definitely the fitter, more dominant team and created the better chances. I mean, they had one on the break with Sarr, but Kasper made a good save. But apart from that second half, can't really remember the chance until the very last minute. But there's a lot of positives to take. I think there was some good performances in there. We scored a great goal and could have had more, but we're a tad unlucky with the set piece, to be honest, because we actually defend it well. We get first contact from Vards at the front post, and it actually hits the lad's foot and loops back into the path of the centre half, who probably has never scored an overhead kick in his life. But it was a good finish in the end, and we'll have to take the point and move on to Tuesday.
Well, clearly very disappointed, James Maddison speaking, pitchside to LCFC TV at Vicarage Road. Walshy, I mean...
well, he agrees with me, doesn't he? He does, Maddie. He agrees with me, at least. So he thinks we should have won it.
Everyone's agreeing with you today, Walshy.
But, hey, listen, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It was a sickener. There's a lot of positives. You look back at the whole contest from a manager's point of view. It was a great contest between Pearson and Rodgers. I think that Rodgers slightly outwitted Pearson in the end. I would say I think his timings of his substitutions, who he brought on, and how he went about changing the game, really give Leicester a chance to win the game, and they nearly, for the sake of a few seconds, had done it. And so I think we've got a very intelligent manager who really knows that game inside out. So I'm pleased that Leicester have got through this game and got a point out of it. At one stage in the first half we were getting a little bit worried. It was swinging. The game was swinging. It swung into our possession in the second half, and nearly took the whole 3 points, which would have been wonderful.
Yeah, very nearly did in the end. Walshy, final thoughts from you then, Iwan, on this first game back for Leicester very quickly for us, please.
But when you've had, 100 odd days before or since the last time you played, I think it was a tremendous performance. I really, really did. It was never going to be easy. You know, the no fans, the warm weather, the big gap between last time that you played, and nearly won the 3 points. I think there's a lot of positives to go into a place that's not an easy place to go as well. I think we have to stress that. Watford, Vicarage Road, not an easy place to go. So all in all, I think it's been a good afternoon's work for Leicester.
Thanks, Iwan, and they'll take that into Tuesday, of course, won't they, Matt?
Yeah, exactly. A tough fixture against Watford away. You've come out of it relatively unscathed, and certainly in terms of league position, with the closest rivals at this moment in time, Man United, Sheffield United, for that Champions League spot, no damage done. In fact, the situation is proved because it's another game ticked off. Only 8 more to go, and Leicester not in full flow, but they showed signs that they haven't forgot how to play football. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Matt Elliott. Thanks to Iwan Roberts, and thanks as well to Steve Walsh. We hope you've enjoyed this first episode of City on the Sofa for Leicester City's first Premier League game back after the mini-season break in the end. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back again on Tuesday for the home game with Brighton at King Power Stadium. So until then, goodbye.